the world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
Paul, you might not like this, but the nerds love them.
Some of the nerds love them. Let's not be
In a
discriminatory against the nerds. Let's
I
count
don't-
them all. I grew up in New England, and unlike you young folk, I didn't grow up with nothing but championships.
I had 5 years of my life with no
I
championships.
hate you.
Or the tendies in the commons.
Yeah.
I did a double order yesterday. So.
Did you really?
The sriracha, dip the fries in the sriracha, it slaps.
The guys are doing
It
good work up there.
You know, as a undersized Caucasian man, I thought, oh, well, Wes Welker made it in the NFL. Why can't I? Stupidly. Very stupidly. I really felt like if I worked as hard as he did, and I could do it. I truly believe that like, oh, there's a path for me. Like, I look at this.
There's a path.
Just so you know, we are revisiting this when Fred might
It's
get
so
back.
true.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
You're right, Paul. We are revisiting it now.
Hey now.
Boy, you guys had a good time while I was away, huh? And Deuce
And
was
Deuce.
away.
I know.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. What's the static I'm hearing?
Okay.
All right.
I
What's
wanted
going
to-
on?
I wanted to see if you
Right
guys-
off the
Oh,
bat.
no.
Right off the
I
bat.
broke it.
Yeah. Is that
Too much of a Hawaiian influence.
all right. Well, it is Thursday here at Gillette Stadium.
Just want you to know, Evan and I held down the fort just fine.
We did.
Oh, probably me.
No one did that.
Yeah.
No one knocked us off the air.
It's my
Oh.
connection.
I think we lost it, but
Yeah, I think it is Fred's mic because I don't hear the static anymore. Can you guys hear me?
No, I hear you good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, we're okay.
should
So
have
we'll
a-
just do it without Fred.
Just keep moving that around. It doesn't really affect
We
anything.
should have a warning
the,
to listeners.
modulation whatsoever.
30 seconds in, there's going to
Can
be
you hear me?
yeah.
Okay,
there we
good.
are. All right,
All right.
now we're good.
Yeah.
All right. Hey.
Yeah.
Here we are.
What's going on with these connections?
Well,
Yeah.
it's much better now.
It's
Yeah.
fine now. The show was rusty without us.
All right.
A little bit of news,
Okay.
I
What do
wouldn't
you
say
got?
that. We
What?
got
What
under
news?
lock.
right?
What news?
Oh.
It's Deuce, Evan, Paul, myself, Matt.
Things happened when you were away, Eric.
What's the news? What's the news?
They re-signed Juwan Bentley?
Juwan Bentley. That hadn't happened
that
before
hadn't
the show,
happened?
right?
It seems like it happened
Because you
so
guys got
long
to talk
ago.
about it on Catch 22.
Yeah, we talked about it. Happened
You and Alex.
during Catch 22.
Yeah.
Do we have a Catch 22 today, or is
We
Alex
do.
on vacation?
No, we
He
do.
doesn't do vacation.
He doesn't do vacations. He golfs, but he doesn't vacate.
I'm gonna
Wait, so Elvin,
gonna spare him on that.
I got
one.
a comment on your thing though, because you said like you were. How did you put it? You were. I don't want to say short, but what was the word you used for short? on your.
Oh,
Undersized.
Undersized, but it's like but Wes Welker, he's undersized, but he was overly athletic.
You're
the
saying I
we're gonna
wasn't
get right into that?
overly athletic?
Okay,
Is
go
that
ahead.
what you're trying to say, Deuce?
You guys have fun.
Were you overly athletic though? That was the question.
Listen, I
He
like
was
I
overly analytic.
like I said last week, I was not going to sit there and compare myself to I don't know, Randy Moss. Like, why would I do that? I had one guy that looked a little bit like me and had a path possible, and that was obviously Wes Welker. So I would rock the '83 Wes Welker jersey all the time to games. And
You got
things
like the real
that.
size, and it looked perfectly normal.
Right.
On
Oh
you.
yeah, exactly. Like I filled it out perfectly, just like he did.
Oh, I have to say,
It was tight around the
Now,
muscles and
Deuce,
everything.
you played Division I hockey.
I did the same thing.
Paul,
I was just going to
You
bring
played
up.
Division I baseball. Did you ever have any pro aspirations?
Well,
did
that's.
not.
I was just gonna say, and I played college hockey, but I was never close to playing NHL. But my whole thought was, and it was not that much different than what Evan's saying, because at my time when I was playing hockey in high school, anybody who was 6'4", 215 pounds were getting drafted. Like Hal Gill had a pretty good NHL career. He's not playing in the NHL now, but that was my whole thing. I'm like, oh. If I was just 6'4", I would get drafted. Meanwhile, I'm making the same mistake Evan is like, you actually have to be talented. It doesn't really I was
Hal
bigger
Gill
than Ray
wasn't, in
Bork.
fairness. In fairness to you, Hal Gill was a shoemaker.
He was terrible, and I think I said before, he lit me up in summer league one time. I thought I broke my jaw because he's so big, his elbow was just right into your face. So I'm with you. I got
Listen,
you.
I was, I think 2007, I was probably 13 or 14. So I was still a kid. Like I didn't know, what the difference was. And I really thought that I mentioned in basketball, the guy was JJ Redick. Like I was like, oh, here's like a 6'2" sharpshooter, really can't dunk, like isn't super athletic, but he shoots like 45% from three. So if I just get really good at shooting from the outside,
if you just know exactly what route to run every time, like even if it's at a snail's
Yeah.
pace, you're probably gonna
no, didn't work out. Needless to say.
I just have to say, NFL Network right now has a feature on Larry Zonka, and he's in a river with waders fishing for looks like steel nose
Marlins?
steel nose salmon or whatever with a spinning reel. Just like come on, you've got to be using a fly rod.
The fishing faux pas.
Yeah.
I was not aware.
Big time.
Doing
Big
fishing
time.
Deep dive here.
Big time.
I just learned something.
I just can't.
I want to learn more about fishing.
It's like you might as well just set grenades off and wait for the dead fish to float up.
Does that mean I don't know fishing. Does that mean it's too easy to do it
Yeah,
the way
it's
it's
too
it's
easy.
too easy.
Yeah.
I didn't get it until the grenade.
I mean, like
analogy.
if you're fishing for bass, okay, but if you're gonna have outfit yourself in the waders and all this stuff and stand in the river,
You can fish like a man.
get a fly rod, right? You would know. Ted Williams would tell you the same thing.
I mean, my grandfather would know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd love to try to fly fish, though. That's probably one of
it's
my
the
life
best.
elements that I'd like to experience.
When you're fly
more.
fishing, that's all you're thinking about.
Yeah.
Because you have to.
Because you have to watch the water and know where, and you got to make it kind of dance a little bit. There's
You're
an art
constantly
to it.
doing something. It's not like you just sit and fish.
Yeah.
You're
Sounds a lot better than just.
yeah. I mean, both have their merits,
Yeah.
but
Quiet
man.
time.
Yeah,
Time in the
it's-
water.
It's great. It's great. Anyway, sorry about that. But
Larry Zonka.
I'm staring right at it. So.
Well, they are the only undefeated team. So.
And I don't know if you've
that's
ever seen
true.
it. I don't know if you've ever seen any features on that, but I think that's what this is on NFL Network. Is
Just the old
feature
angry
on the
people saying.
NFL Network. I did get a chance before, like last week during the 4th of July, there was like a whole day of Patriots programming. We had talked about that
yes.
too when you guys were gone. So they had all kinds of stuff. They had America's games. They had replays of games.
Do your jobs.
But this week, they look like they're showing some memorable Week 1 games, just random. I watched like a Dallas-Washington game from '99, but you know what I got last night?
09?
You know what I got last night, Deuce?
Which one?
1994, Week 1.
Dan Marino.
Marino,
and
Bledsoe shootout, 39-35 loss for the Patriots, but
yeah.
today was the day that I knew that Drew was
Now, that was year two,
he
right?
was in the
That was
NFL.
year
It
two
was
for
week
Drew.
1 of his second year, and if not for kind of a fluky Ben Coates fumble, they were going in to take the lead in the last 2 minutes.
Just like Nelson Aguilar against the Ravens last year.
Well, I mean, you talk about
It was
that's-
kind of similar to that fumble, actually, right near the sideline.
Don't you feel like that's the game Mac Jones is still looking for? That's the game of like, you
Yeah.
know, kind of goes toe to toe with a guy, and even if it's, I know quarterbacks
I
don't
didn't
play
necessarily.
quarterbacks.
I was
but
just going down nostalgia
I'm trying to
lane.
tie
I
it all
didn't
together for
necessarily
you.
want to,
No,
Jump right into it.
But it's a good point. I think we are still looking for that game from Mac.
I mean, in fairness, Drew lost.
Yeah, no, but
But even in right, like I mean, but
He
you
showed
haven't
he
even
can
seen
go
Mac
toe to
lose it.
toe.
I think he threw
Yeah.
for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns.
yeah,
and
he could go
it
toe to
was
toe with the
really,
best passer
messy.
in his time.
Yeah.
Marino.
Yeah.
You know?
And how was the connection with Ben Coates right out of the gate though? Was that something that was instant, or was that something that came on in the second year?
No. Like I think his first career touchdown pass was to Ben Coates.
Yeah.
In '93, Week 1, '93 at Buffalo.
Speaking of Mac,
Sniff.
what do we make of this picture of him, Brady, and McCourty?
Oh, I didn't see it. Oh, really? They
Oh,
were,
yeah.
What's the picture? I don't know. I'm having problems.
Was it
with
the
my
white
social
party?
Media.
Was it
The
Michael
boys are trying
Rubin's
to
white
help me
party?
out.
No,
Was Mac at the white party?
No, this
No,
was a
no.
separate
No,
party.
but Grant Williams was at the white party, and then he got traded like 2 days later.
Everybody
Yeah.
was at the white party. I'm looking at it
Well,
like,
Grant Williams was
who
at the
wasn't
Fanatics
there?
event here with Jason Tatum last week.
So Ruben probably
Gave him
extended
the,
him
the
an
invite.
Oh,
invite.
you can come with Jason if you want.
Did
Yeah.
Alex
Is that how that works?
Did Alex stalk Jason Tatum while he was here for that event?
We did have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
I was a little upset that I wasn't given the invitation to come and meet Jason Tatum in the line of little kids that
funny
got
that
to
you
take
said that,
pictures
like,
with him.
We were talking.
It's like kid,
in
Nevin.
the
I
think
work
tank
here.
in KSP, everybody's talking about that. I was like, "What are you guys talking about?" Like, it was a huge event. I'm like, "For what?" I'm like, I mean, not that I have to be like made aware of everything that's going on, but I don't know. It
Jason
seems like,
Tatum.
seems like something that I might have,
Yeah.
someone may have let me know about.
I saw the pictures from Patriots.com, and I'm kind of like was looking through them, and I saw a picture with Alex in the background, and then I saw a picture, and I'm like, is that Jason Tatum in the background? I started to like process. I'm like, my God, Alex was there with Jason Tatum at the same time. She must have lost her mind.
We talked about it.
Is that why she hasn't
yes.
been in since?
I think so.
Yeah, well, that's why it was. Alex didn't do the show on Tuesday. I think that was the day of the event, right? And then
Yeah,
she came
was
in
out
and
there.
she did the show on Thursday where she could laugh at Evan talking about comparing himself to Westbrook.
Yeah, but I guess as Fanatics are going to be doing this every year now. It's the Day of Giving, and they had it in different cities
Yeah.
around the country. But boy, what an empire he's built, Michael Rubin.
I had to go on his Wikipedia page today because I'm like, where did this guy come from? And I mean, he's I know about Fanatics, but I mean, from that to the White Party now, he's just been all over the
he's
place.
self-made off e-commerce.
Yeah.
You know, that's where he started.
Did you see all the people that was like Jay-Z, Beyonce, Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Brady? I mean, I like the list is just he's
one of those like people that if there was an Illuminati, he would be like the head, the secret head of Illuminati.
Yeah.
Like everybody thinks that it's like somebody famous like Jay-Z or something, but it's actually this like businessman that is running all of the show behind the scenes.
White Party.
Yeah.
God. Cool.
I hate everybody
Looks
that's
sexy.
there. They're all
So
Well, Fred, you've been struggling
only
there because
kidding.
you'd have mustard all over your white stuff.
Right.
You're like, I don't got no white stuff.
Oh, and I heard that they had
plus
like
white makes you look fat.
I heard they had pizza.
Pizza.
Oh wow.
Like they got
pizza time.
Was
like
it white
down there?
pizza? Because I hate white pizza.
No, they
with
got
no
pizza
tomato
from
sauce.
some
That's not
place in
pizza.
Brooklyn
Oh,
that's
I love white.
supposedly famous for
Town Spa.
for their pizza, and like they were talking about it on the radio. I totally agree. That's one of the why don't you just get spaghetti and meatballs?
Right.
You know, at a white party. Like,
Right.
that would be all over Fred's shirt. That would be awesome.
Oh God, easily.
That would be
Just
so
the
awesome.
the meatball just comes out and splat right down.
Yeah.
So there was a
Tide pens? They
a
had Tide
certain
pens there?
celebrity, female celebrity that was at the party as well, and she has now popped up a few times in Tom Brady's presence.
Oh.
And
Can we say the name?
Kim
and
Kardashian?
Don't
yes.
you dare.
Is that who you're talking about?
Don't
Yes.
you dare. Really?
Kim Kardashian. There's been multiple breadcrumbs at this point, including buying a mansion in the same complex as Brady in Florida.
Oh, that's too
Recently.
much. That's too much. Come on. You're getting clingy on me here, Kim.
And then she was at this at Michael Rubin's party where Brady was also present.
Well,
boy.
he's
So-
having his
If-
post-divorce.
of all the people
Go
to
for it.
not be involved with, she tops the list. I mean, it's just trouble from the word go.
Well, the whole. I mean, you feel like you're part of a marketing campaign.
Yeah,
Probably,
it's
like, you know.
really like, oh come on.
That's why Tom's probably trying to play it cool. Like we're having to read between the lines because probably if she had her way, they'd be, you know.
I'm just saying. Every time I get that they're celebrities and they might run in similar social circles anyways.
Week one,
but
baby, right here, week
all,
one.
all of a sudden, you know, you
Get a chair ready. Get a
now
chair
she's
I
ready.
at
blame
the
it all on
house.
OJ. He brought us that whole clan.
Well, there's other things I blame on OJ, but
Yeah.
you know.
Anyway, 855-PASS-500 is the Ace Ticket Hotline, web radio at patriots.com.
You wouldn't
is the
think there would
email
be a lot
address.
of options for Tom Brady to actually upgrade in terms of value.
Right. I know. He got one of the only ones that. Yeah.
Kim Kardashian's net worth is significantly greater than
It's
Gisele's.
got to be about more than money for him now, right? Come on, Tom.
Is
Let's
it?
go.
You also have a little bit of a couple of tidbits of news if we want to.
Okay.
So
Besides Juwan
I
Bentley?
tried with the Bentley thing.
Right.
I
Nah,
was
Yeah.
summarily
you do that on your
dismissed.
own time, Paul.
Joanne Bentley, we do have details on Devontae Parker's contract now. It kind of is a very incentive-laden contract to kind of outline exactly. And also DeAndre Hopkins tweeting, or actually threading, not
He
threading,
threaded it.
threaded it,
Thread the needle.
Yeah, that's the new one.
that unfortunately he got some bad clam chowder on his visit here at some point.
Oh, that's a terrible way to say hello to New England.
He, according to him on threads by Instagram, he didn't know there was bacon bits in the clam chowder,
Oh.
and he doesn't eat pork.
Oh.
Pork is not part of
Okay,
his.
so it wasn't a bad clam.
No, it wasn't. Pork's just not part of his
Something worse than
diet.
bad clam.
So he hasn't eaten pork in, he said, 8 years, and he's had a stomach issues ever since.
So Patriots are out. Patriots are out. I don't like the pork.
Not
I don't
good.
like the bacon in the clam chowder. Not on my watch down the Cape. There's no bacon in
Yeah,
that down there.
I've had it before. There was a Boston place that actually won a couple awards, and they have a bacon, and it's
I mean,
not
I've
bad.
had it. I've
It's
had
not
it,
bad.
but I feel like pure clam chowder for me,
Yeah.
like where I grew up having it. But they had a lot in In L.A., there was bacon in the clam chowder out there a lot.
Yeah.
There was a place called the Northern Spire in Canton that's a good place, but they put bacon in it. It's real good, but
Yeah.
I have to say no bacon. But
Okay.
sorry, DeAndre.
How much of this chowder did he eat before he realized there was bacon in it?
Yeah. Plus, how much
This is
bacon
delicious.
Plus, how much
That's a
bacon
fair
was
point.
in it?
You
know?
realized how much
Listen,
you missed bacon.
I'm just reading the threads. All right, that's it. That's all
Are
I
you
can
sure?
do.
Was that verified? Was
So I'm
that
gonna need
verified on
someone to.
Threads?
I'm gonna need someone to read the threads to me.
So
I don't know what the hell's going on, Fred.
I mean, unless it's really quiet, it sounds like he's taking his time,
Yeah.
Hopkins.
Yeah.
That would be.
And
my
it
guess.
also sounds like, unless it's people being really quiet about it, no other teams have jumped into the mix.
Yeah.
which
I
is,
think Fowler actually reported it's just Tennessee and New England.
yeah. So that's good for us.
I
mean,
I got to take something back too. I called into the show from the shores of Maui last week to talk to Paul and Evan, and Paul put me on the spot, like, how are you feeling about DeAndre? And I tried to unplug, and I said for some reason I don't think it's going to happen. I take that back. Like I still think it is going to, and I think it has to happen. Like the more I got away from it, I'm like, you have to do something. Like I just don't think it's enough right now to realistically think this season is.
well,
you're really going to make some noise without that guy.
Forget about the name of the player. It sounds like they need another adequate receiver, just because like everybody's hurt and people are going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And they need some quality depth. Now if it can be DeAndre Hopkins, great. But it sounds like they're going to need another receiver.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean,
But
especially
Those are kind of two different things, though, Fred. I think they need DeAndre Hopkins. I think Mike and Evan have been talking about this for weeks.
Yeah.
They need that guy at the top. They
do.
need
They do.
need receivers for depth. I don't think
Yeah.
they have enough actual receivers
Yeah.
for camp. But those aren't the same thing.
No, I get it. But if you're going to add a receiver, you might as well spend the money and bring him in.
I agree. I think that would make sense.
I don't think you can ignore the depth either. I mean, and the injury issues was just, do we trust Tyquan Thornton? It's not only going to be
Yeah.
good, but also have 17 plus games in him this
I
year.
mean,
It's
how
maybe
often,
asking a
Paul,
lot.
over the years, we hear about some, skill position player with, some type of injury, and it just lingers, and it lingers,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Hamstrings.
think they have enough wide receivers currently on the roster. I think you need a lot of body. There's a lot of running at that position in camp, and you want to save these guys. You don't want to have Juju and Thornton and Parker just running routes constantly and being in every rep during the summer. That just kind of adds to the wear and tear.
And then you
need those other guys too.
Yeah, and then you put Ed Lee in there, or
Yeah.
those lower guys, and I mean, I feel like you're kind of hoping against the real possibilities that one of those guys is really going to emerge. I mean, I don't want to put too much in the mini camp and OTAs, but it was kind of disappointing that one of those guys wasn't, didn't pop a little bit more. I mean, I don't know if it necessarily is, death sentences as far as those guys go when it gets to training camp, but I think it's true, and just the more you kind of step back, like get away from it a little bit the last couple of weeks, it's like.
So you were away when that happened, right? The Parker extension.
I was, and I was surprised by it. I mean, and I think now in retrospect, I mean, I think as Bedard put it, like the easy deals, like they're doing the guys who are willing to take incentive-laden deals to get, I don't know if you call it security, but to get a new deal and to get maybe some new money. But how much? I mean, we've said it 100 times. They like him more than we like him. Like we have all just been kind of like. He's a nice contested receiver. I think that he has a role within the offense, but is he going to be a true needle mover? Like to Fred's point, if one of these inside guys gets hurt, like Parker is what he is. Like he's never going to be able to. Man, we got to. I'd even feel better about Bourne.
He's not versatile enough.
Being more versatile within the offense than Parker. Like, and if you get stuck with just Mack and Parker as your main guys, it's. Or in Gesicki and Henry, it's like, man, this is not a dynamic.
And there are
group.
guys now on my shows, Freddie, that are sort of, reading between the lines. If Hopkins comes, they think that Bourne might go, and they're not. That's not the guy that they would have chosen.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know that you necessarily have to get rid of anybody. Yet, like we just talked about the depth, so you could keep them all and figure it out. But what I didn't like about the Parker thing, and Evan and I talked about this Tuesday and Thursday last week, and I think we're in agreement. It's not like, oh, my God, you just set the organization back 10 years. Or, oh, man, you're really setting everything up. You're paving the way for Hopkins. We don't think it's either one of those extremes.
Yeah, like I was.
It's
gonna
just
say,
kind of there.
I wouldn't read into it that much. You have to do this,
But I
every
don't-
year with certain
I
players.
don't really understand why. Now, my concern is this is that comment that I said I grew up in New England and I've been, sort of worried about. I didn't have the luxury of winning a title every year of my life. What I would worry about is what you kind of talked about with those two kids not popping at all at minicamp, Booty and Douglas. I would think that if they showed a lot of promise, or some other young receiver had shown a lot of promise, I don't think this would necessarily be a move you'd be willing to make or looking to make. There was no need to extend a 30-year-old receiver coming off
injury
an
prone.
an okay season where he was a complimentary piece. My feeling is Belichick probably felt like, I need to have some receivers next year that I know that I can rely on. That's not good.
But didn't they free up some cap space? And isn't it incentive laden? So you can talk about
he gets more money than he would have.
Yeah, if he does certain things. No.
Guaranteed. His salary is guaranteed.
Money.
Well, this year he makes
and next year.
Yeah. Well, there's new money on the contract. It is. It's
yeah.
It's a real extension. So basically, it's a 3-year, $17 million base value contract.
It's not $33 million. But it's more than 5.8, which was what he was going to get.
It's it is in terms of the new money that's on the contract the next 2 years, but it's about the same money that he was getting on a per year basis. But the problem is, I think, or I don't know if I would call it a problem, but it basically guarantees his roster spot for the next 2 years. Essentially, like I think next year they probably will be able to move on if they absolutely need to or want to, but they would carry some dead money.
It'd be like
if
a $3-something million guaranteed.
And next year they're going to have plenty of
plus the prorated
space,
portion.
So, yeah.
Well, that's the thing that I'm most interested in, Fred. That came out in the last couple of days, and I apologize for where I saw it, but somebody kind of ranked like teams' future cap space, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. Do you know what I'm talking about, Evan? Somebody posted it.
Yeah, I think it was a ESPN Plus or one of those like.
But it's like the Patriots have like more money and cap space over the next few years than anybody else, and it's like in one part, and I know that like the guaranteed money thing is kind of a conversation on Paul's shows. The amount of cash spending that they've been doing. I know that's been a thing too, but it just. What is the answer to all this? Because on one hand, you haven't really had the players like to extend. Like it's fine to say, well, I wish they would spend more cash. Well, fine. On who? Like you really wish that they had extended player what? Like I mean, is there anybody?
Kyle Duggar.
So that's the next one coming up. So that should be where it goes, right?
Yeah.
But they seem reticent to do it. Like I don't know. Maybe they're trying to work on it.
They have so much cap space because they don't have
the players,
good players,
right?
Yeah, and what I like about I do think. We can look at these two deals, and the three of us were just talking about this upstairs. I like the idea of Bentley. Not like this, multifaceted, uber athletic inside linebacker. He's not that. That's not what he is. But I like the fact that they identify a guy that works in their system, that performs a role, and more importantly, is a leader and maybe a bridge to that next group of leadership. He's been a captain. Now you're locking him up to stay. He was entering the final year of his deal, too. So now he's locked up to stay for 2 more years. And I think that you can look at him and say, I know the defense has at least one leader. Yeah. And I'm kind of hoping that Kyle Duggar is one of those guys, too. I don't know how much of an outgoing leader he is. When we talk to him, he doesn't really seem like he's...
But it's more like Hightower,
well,
right?
But
like
but I like that. Like, think about that secondary potentially... If not in 24, in 25. It's Christian Gonzalez. It's Marcus Jones. Who knows with Jack Jones? It's Marte Mapu, and hopefully Kyle Duggar. And then who would you think would be the leader of a group like that in year 3?
Right.
Year 4. Like, it would be the 6-year guy in Duggar at that time. I think it's important to try to continue that, that dynamic.
It's important to have
nucleus guys.
Like with Bentley, you get him signed up. He's all in. He's your guy. He comes in starting training camp as one of your circle the wagon guys. He doesn't have to worry about the money anymore. His contract. He's all set. He's bought in. And the more guys you can have like that, the better.
Which is what kind of impact does it have in the locker room too? And this goes to like my thing with Bentley was like you couldn't have just like you keep stringing them along on 2-year deals like. No, Bentley wasn't going anywhere else. Like I think anytime we talked about him, that again, like Parker, he has more value here than he probably does anywhere else. And to agree with Paul, I mean, I think he's a great piece. Like, do I think that he's great against Lamar Jacksons of the world? No, I think that's probably like where you're starting to think, hey, we hope that Marty Matpu can be, one of those mobile inside guys that can stick with him. But I think he's got to roll 100% on the team. But I just wonder if you don't extend Kyle Duggar, the guys start to say, like, look, no matter how well I play here, even if I get a contract, they're probably going to lowball me, and it's going to be a 2-year deal, and there's going to be a bunch of incentives in it, and no thanks.
Yeah.
Like,
and,
I don't
and
want
in
to be
the
a part
past,
of
like, I
this.
started thinking back, and it's always dangerous because then I always forget guys when I do this. But, like, I was thinking of, like, well, these are the kinds of moves Bentley, Parker. It was like Jarvis Green. Valuable guy, good piece. Let's not even let him get to free agency. Let's lock him up. But Duggar, to me, is more of like a Mike Vrabel. Let's not even let him get to free agency. Let's lock him up.
Well, maybe the
a little bit harder to do.
Yeah, and that exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe the fact that they haven't signed Duggar yet means it's a little bit more complicated than these other.
Yeah,
ones.
no, there's big money there.
Yeah.
Duggar's going to get a decent contract. I think a guy like Josh Uche, depending on what he does,
Tough one.
is going to break the bank. If he has another double-digit sack season, he's going to be very valuable as an edge rusher with back-to-back 10-plus sack seasons.
Yeah.
So I get that. You have to pick. You can't have everybody. Michael Onwenu, I would read the tea leaves and say they've drafted, 5 interior offensive linemen the last 2 drafts.
Yeah.
My guess is they're going to be pretty comfortable that one of those guys will be able to step in for Onwenu if Onwenu's like one of those $60 million guards. I think they've been down that road with Shaq and Joe Tooney. My guess is they probably don't want to go down there again.
Totally.
Even though Onwenu's been excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
For
like,
them.
as I said upstairs, and I've said it probably before, is like if you had to pick a position in football that you need to figure out, right guard, right tackle, those are probably the 2 places I'm going to start. I know you probably start with kicker, Paul, but
Either that or just running back.
Yeah. Well, guards and running backs are kind of similar, right, in terms of the interchangeability.
Yeah.
But I just think with Parker, I have much different opinion on in terms of the contract. But with Bentley, like, you have to at some point start building a nucleus of core players. Like, you can't just keep recycling every 4 years. And I think that a lot of the talk is, well, they're not drafting linebackers, so now they just are forced to kind of keep Bentley in the fold. And it's like, at some point, you got to keep some guys around. Like, you can't just keep on recycling players every 4 years in the draft and just trying to go about it that way. You have to have leaders. You have to have guys that buy into the system, that understand the defense, understand the culture, understand the program, and are going to be leaders for you in the locker room. You have to have at least a handful
And he's
of those types
100%
of
that
guys.
guy.
Yeah, and he's really one of those guys. I also think he's kind of an underrated player. Like, I know
Yeah.
he's not what everybody wants. He's not Fred Warner. He's not Matt Milano. He's not this 230-pound athletic, rangy coverage linebacker. But for what they need that position and that role in this defense to do, he's really, really good at it.
Yep. I like
You guys missed it. It was a lot of agreeing with Evan and Paul last week. You guys missed it.
Well, I mean, I think
Good stuff.
It's one of those things where I think we're seeing it, through the similar lens right now of, especially the Duggar situation, and it's hard because you say Duggar and Uche, and then who? Like who else is going to deserve a chunk of this money, cap space that they have coming up? And and I don't think that Bill is necessarily planning it this way, but I just can't help but think that if he were to depart, that it's kind of a clean slate for whoever's next. There's not a bunch of cap commitments to guys that that somebody else may or may not like. Probably reading too much into that, but I don't know. It seems like they're in good shape if they needed to turn things over soon, that they could do it pretty easily.
All right, 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket Hotline. Web radio at Patriots.com is the email address.
If that's what you want.
Yeah, talk a little Patriots.
Patriots.
Can I got 2 things. I got to give a shout out to Steve from Rancho Cucamonga, who spotted me in Maui and it said he's a big fan of the show. So it was one of the first times I've been out in public.
I think I remember his emails.
Deuce. Yeah. I told him to
I
call
do
in.
remember emailer from Rancho Cucamonga.
Yeah.
Because isn't that where Patty Chung was from, right?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I also watched 80 for Brady on the plane. Well, I wouldn't say I watched it. I kind of scanned through it.
Yeah, I watched it.
Me too.
Oh, by the way, I went to see Asteroid City. Awful. Awful.
I never even heard of
And I like Wes Anderson movies, mostly. This was terrible.
I've lost him. I love the Bottle Rocket. One of his first ones was like one of my all-time favorite movies. And Royal Tenenbaums was pretty good.
I say I saw Bottle
Yeah,
Rocket,
it's
but I
kind of
don't
funny.
remember.
It's like Owen Wilson's first movie. They're like small-time inept crooks. But But I did enjoy just watching the end of 80 for Brady and kind of reliving the game. And
No. It's not the end. That's the climax. Of the movie.
I skipped out before the Tampa Bay
end is
denouement.
the Benedict Arnolds in the living room at the end.
Right.
Yeah, I
it
know
was
them.
it was every cliche in the book. I thought Gronk was really funny though, like just his little bit. But man, Brady can't act. Like it's just he's just such a bad actor. But it did remind me of like just watching it, and I'm like, look, the Patriots, they'll maybe win another Super Bowl. It'll never be like that again. Like it'll never be that ridiculously over the top, intense, dramatic. You know, just the way that team was, some of those. I mean, no, and I mean it in a good way. Like I felt like kind of re-energized coming back of just like, man, it was really cool. It's different now for sure. But you know, just the way that game unfolded, it blows your mind.
That was magic.
You know,
I still can't believe what I saw.
Right? I mean, every time you see it, you can't believe it, especially when you're watching it through like the eyes of Jane Fonda. My God, the Guy Fieri scene. I mean, there's so much. The other thing was like, you know, they put like the two guys on there that were like kind of like the Fitzy. Like it seemed like they were doing one of me and Fitzy shows, and like they couldn't have gotten us. But that was like,
I don't know. Yeah, why didn't they hire you?
Why didn't they just hire us? And it's like,
That
wow,
was a
this is like.
miscalculation. I would have watched it if you were in it.
Well, the guys that they got,
'Cause
one
they
guy
were
from
terrible.
Saturday Night
I
Live.
know.
It was like they just sat him down and like, I don't know, just do some Boston stuff, and I couldn't like the accents. Like the accents.
I was like,
are
we were
so
available.
bad.
You could have just called.
Right, Robert Corddry, like you're from Boston. You should know if you just don't do an accent. It's better than trying to do a Boston accent than doing a bad Boston accent where every R is that was bad, but it was fun. I just kind of like, you know, I'd scan through like, oh, Guy Fieri, scan through, and then I got to the game and I'm like, all right, we'll watch this now. But
it wasn't good.
Wait, so you didn't see the end? The very,
well, you
very
had told
end?
me you had told me about that, so I tapped out
Yeah.
before that. I think
Good.
I think we hit
That,
a little.
if I had known, I would have done the same.
My other question was, I don't think they said the word Belichick once in the whole movie.
He was in it
I
like
never noticed
very,
that.
very.
Was he?
He was in it twice,
like
I think.
a shot of him, right, walking on the
into,
sideline.
and then there was one of him walking into the tunnel like before the game.
Yeah, but they never
arrival.
talked about him. It was always the Patriots, and you know, I did have some notes. I had some notes on the script. You know, I'm like, all right, so they're lifelong fans watching the game in the opening of the movie. They all have brand new Brady jerseys on. I'm like, can we get one of these ladies who's had like a torn,
Good
you know?
point.
And then when you flip them at the end and they start wearing the bedazzled ones, like, you know, then it has a little pops a little more. That's, you know, Hollywood Deuce hat for a second there. Raise the stakes.
Fred goes, yeah, that's a good point.
It is.
Yeah, the only person on the planet who's concerned with what year the shirt was.
No,
It's
but
my-
like if
it's
you're
my
a
big
lifelong fan, wouldn't your shirt have
Right,
been?
and this is like a
Yeah.
tradition to them,
Yeah.
and it looks like they just, you know, open the shirts from Fanatics. Like
So
an
all
hour ago.
lifelong fans have to be like Fireman Ed and wear a shirt that's like 50
No,
years
but
old.
Or maybe just
chances
one.
are you would have one that you wear every game, and
Yeah.
it's a little bit beat up.
Yeah.
I would also hope that lifelong fans would not jump ship to Tampa Bay as soon as Tom Brady left. But you know, what can I do?
It's fine. I'm glad it was made. I'm glad it exists.
All right. 855 Pats 500 is the Ace Ticket
The only
Hotline.
person I know that says that. I'm glad it exists.
Let's turn to the listeners, see what's on everyone's mind. We'll go to Todd, North Carolina. What's up, Todd?
So I was thinking about this for a while. You take a look at Patricia, you take a look at McDaniels, you take a look at a lot of the coaches that have left here, and you know they probably kind of have a legacy because they've been here for several Super Bowls and stuff. But how much of their legacy, their success, is just tied to being a part of the Patriots and having Bill there and maybe Tom there and just having this organization, and then when they get out, they just don't seem to perform. Like, what do you think is going on with that? You know, that inability to make it work outside this site. So, and could you please send me back, because I was going to buy you guys lunch, but he put me on hold too quick.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Well, make sure you do that, Fred. Don't hit. No.
I'll hit hold?
Yep. Don't drop it.
Okay.
Don't drop it.
He's on hold. I mean,
I think all of their success is tied to the
Yeah,
Patriots. I don't mean to
absolutely.
be disrespectful, but these guys haven't had really any success outside of New England.
Yeah.
Patricia, McDaniels.
I think Mangini.
Not yet.
I think Mangini would have, had he not been blackballed by the league. You know, but
I don't agree with that at all. He
Yeah.
had time to do it in New York. He had another opportunity in Cleveland.
I think he would have. I think he would have been good.
But he got another job after he
I
was
think
blackballed. is my
Brian
point.
Dable is having success.
Yep. He was here a couple times.
Can we claim him?
Yeah. I mean,
Brian Dable,
tiny bit.
I would claim Brian Dable.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was
absolutely.
just like Josh McDaniels. They came
Yeah.
in as coaching assistants
But-
in 2000.
Right, but he was never.
He was never the coordinator
Yeah.
here. He was always
Yeah.
a position coach here.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't know. He learned under Bill, I would say, and he had success.
It's hard. I mean, do you guys have a different at all perspective of Josh McDaniels after last season? As I thinking about it a little bit, I feel like I have a little bit more appreciation for what he did as far as keeping the offense.
No, I always had
on point.
appreciation. I still think he's got a chance to be a good head coach. It's going to take time,
It's hard. I mean, I don't.
Oh, he's got a year, just so you know. Because
Yeah.
if he flames out this year and gets fired, he's probably not going to get a third chance.
I don't know. Do you think Mark Davis would fire him?
If he can afford it.
I think if he could afford it, he would have fired him last year.
Hey, and
I'm not telling you I thought he should have been fired, because I don't. But I think if Mark Davis could have afforded it, he'd have been gone.
Yeah.
I'm a big McDaniels fan. Like, I think that he's a really, really good offensive coach. But the one thing about him is that you play his system. Like, his system is his system. And whether you're Tom Brady, you're Mac Jones, you're Cam Newton, like, you figure it out. You play what I tell you to do. And I think that that's where he's maybe run into some trouble in other places, is getting the right people in place to play that system, especially at the quarterback position. And even last year, Derek Carr had issues with it, didn't love it. There was some pushback there of what they were asking him to do. So that's the one thing about McDaniels is, like, he's gonna do his own thing.
That's how he's gonna go down with the ship if it is. And
I also think he's impatient.
Yeah.
With that stuff that you guys are talking about.
Well, it's interesting to me that the two situations that he's gone to outside of New England mirror each other, so closely, that he's going to two programs with, at least a quarterback and a wide receiver that are, proven in the league. You would have thought at that time, like, I mean, at that point, Jay Cutler and Brandon Marshall, you're like, wow, he's really going to something. Then, within a year, they're both gone. Now Derek Carr's gone, and he's kind of tying his fate to Jimmy Garoppolo, who, just can't seem to stay healthy. And it's.
But it makes perfect sense because Jimmy's a guy that knows
what he wants him to do.
Exactly.
If you just do it my way, it'll work.
That's how these guys think. Like, even like a Kyle Shanahan, that's why they had, I know they trade all those picks for Trey Lance, but he's even one of those guys that's just like, if you just hit the right button on the Xbox controller that I tell you to hit, like, the offense is going to be fine. Don't try to do anything else. Like, don't try to be creative. Don't try to put your own spin on it. Like, if the read is this, then throw the read. Like, and that's how McDaniels is.
Yeah. Well, be interesting year out there in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to be a head coach in the NFL, and I think there's a thirst for good head coaches. And there's a lack of them. And I think, when you come from a program that's had all the success, people just want to get a piece of that, bring some of that to me. And it's just not always, that's not how it works.
I just don't get too caught up in, like, whether or not Belichick's tree has success around the league. Like,
I don't care at all about the Belichick tree. I'm just
assessing
assessing those guys.
Yeah, I mean, the only one that really matters to me is if it's somebody off the tree that is the next head coach here. Like, that's the one that I want to see be successful. But, you can break out all the cliches that they're trying to be Bill, and, there's a certain, I just think that there's a certain element of knowledge that Bill Belichick has that, and perspective that none of those guys are going to have. No matter how much time they've spent with him, he's going to always do things his own way. And, and even when he's doing it that way, it's not a guarantee of success. So, I don't know. It's a high bar. It's like you said, Fred. It's really hard to be a head coach in this league and to go from managing an offense or defense to now you're managing everybody. And not only that, but you're like got to take a temperature of the team and make sure everyone's pulling in the right direction.
Deal
and
with the owner and deal with it.
All those things.
I think that's been the hardest part for guys that have off the Belichick tree is the CEO elements of being the head coach of the team, the personal elements with the players and the interactions with the players and, like, all that kind of stuff, because all of them are good football coaches on their respective sides of the football. And I never viewed it as like a really big X's and O's thing. It's like a culture thing. Like, they just haven't built that culture in their own way yet. And I think that's for McDaniels. Like, if I was the Raiders, I'd give it some time. Like, I wouldn't fire him after 2 seasons. I'd give him 3 or 4 years to try to establish his own foundation.
See, that's the thing. I agree with you on that, and I also saw some of the debate, that's going around with Belichick and Andy Reid, and, like, I don't think you can discount over the last 20 years that the hard tack that this league has taken towards offensive football. And if you have a guy in-house that knows offensive football, and clearly he has a plan and knows what he wants to do. it's not easy to go to get rid of that and all right, we're going to go with a defensive guy now. Like in this league, you have to have maybe last year is I'm scarred from what we did here, but like you have to have an offensive coordinator, an offensive guru in the building that knows what they're doing. It's just how the league is now. You can't try to get by, just shutting everybody down every week. It's not going to happen.
No. Let's go to Patty in Agawam. What's up, Patty?
What's up, everyone?
Hey,
Patty.
Hey, Mike. I loved Rushmore. That's my favorite.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Yep.
Wanted to make a point, and then if I have time, Freddie, play a Guess That Jersey game with Paul.
We have time.
So,
Stump Perillo.
We have time. The floor is yours.
All right. Perfect. So just go piggybacking off of what you guys said about, Uche and Onwenu and Kyle Duggar. Freddie, I remember back in 2016, a show that I sat in on with you and Crispy. And one of the discussions that we had was, at that point, it was Jamie Collins, Donta Hightower, and Malcolm Butler. And who were they going to re-sign? Were they going to re-sign all three, one, maybe two of them? And what ended up happening? After 16, they franchised Butler. They trade Jamie Collins mid-season on Halloween. And they basically let Dante go to the Steelers and, look at an offer from them before he comes back and we make an offer to him and he stays here.
Yeah.
And
they let them all go, basically.
Know, I'm just hoping.
Well, they didn't let Hightower
it was Chandler Jones.
If you wanted to.
It was Chandler Jones, Hightower,
Butler,
and Collins
and
with
Collins.
the three big money,
Yep.
and then Butler.
But I remember talking about it's like this is the core of the defense for years to come.
And
That's
Patty
so
and
great.
Patty's right. The only reason why Hightower stayed is because he flunked physical, and he had offers from Pittsburgh and the Jets. I believe the Jets were the one that actually had him signed, and he failed the physical, and he ended up staying. But they almost lost all four of them.
Right, to
Remember
that
any
point, there was never like
franchising,
these are the guys that we have to have. Let's give them the deal. It was all kind of we'll see, and it felt like it's been like that for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I hope that
Hold on with that. I need the numbers.
Like I hope they sign him to an offer sheet. And I know Uche. I mean, Judon's only signed through this year and next year, so I'm hoping like if he has another big season, I mean, he might price himself out of here. But I would like at least like to see Duggar stay and possibly Uche too, because I'm with you. I think when it was gone after this year. All right, so. Are you ready for this, Paulie?
Yeah, you got to make it quick. Fred's got an itchy trigger finger.
All right. It's the 1994 running backs edition of Name That Jersey.
Okay.
Number 44.
John Stevens.
94?
94, number 44.
No, 44.
Marion Butts.
But in 1994, number 44.
I think Butts was 33, wasn't he?
I'm going to go Marion Butts just because I have no idea.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, it
Okay,
was
so
Butts.
Deuce gets a point.
Okay.
Good job, Deuce.
Circle gets a square.
26.
Corey Kroom.
Correct.
Who?
You didn't even finish the question.
Leroy Thompson.
Yes, sir. And the last one, and I'll cut out here because I know Fred's got the itchy trigger finger. Number 32.
Devin McCourty.
Kevin Turner. No,
That's 34.
Yeah, sorry.
No.
32 running back?
32.
He was a fullback. I'll give you a hint.
Leonard Floyd.
I don't know.
Andre Bowden.
Andre
Gas
Bowden
was on that team,
would have
too.
never got that
Never
one.
heard that name in my life.
No.
There you go. You
Wow.
stumped Perillo. You get a t-shirt.
Twice.
All right. Thanks, Patty.
Stumped me twice.
Yeah.
I didn't get Marion Butts, and I
that's
didn't
some
get
Corey
whoever that last
Kroom.
guy was.
That's some
Something he's-
July 4th hangover right
Was-
there, Paul.
Was he kind of saying like extend Judon? Was that what he was kind of hinting at?
No,
Like,
he was saying Uche because Judon's going to be gone.
Yeah.
I would pay Uche too.
I would. I mean, to that at the point, I feel like it's a little.
That's a
Judon's
tougher
age,
one for me. But if you're because Uche, I mean, Judon's not going to be here forever.
No.
Like you don't get married to your own players. Like it's not Pulla Bruins.
I think Uche is a better pass rusher than Judon. So I would pay Uche, but that's just me.
Let's go to Tim in Boston. What's up, Tim?
Hey guys, how we doing?
Good.
All right, so I feel like
Timmy.
what I see the general sentiment of Pats fans is that we're less optimistic about Mac Jones being the guy now than we were after his rookie year. And looking at last year, I don't really see why that would be the case. Like, well, look at what he dealt with. He didn't have an OC. He had no weapons. Receivers are running into each other. And I can't think of a quarterback other than Patrick Mahomes who could have made that offense.
Well,
work.
but here's the
And
thing.
so-
I hear what you're saying, Tim, but if he really was the guy, he would have still, among all that stuff, well, at least Mac looks pretty good. And you couldn't say that. Like, he didn't run. Like, I'm not saying he should have, like, made the playoffs and, had 5,000 yards passing, but you would have seen signs that Mac is better than this. And he was just along with it. There weren't any signs of him rising above it or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't
coming
think
off a
anyone could
rookie
have
that
written
he
about that.
went in the tank the last 6 weeks of the season. Like, to me, it was an extension of what was already happening.
Among the
I'm not
mess,
saying
we
he
didn't.
doesn't
We
have
weren't
to
able to
prove
say,
himself
well, at
next
least
year.
Mac's playing well.
I just think that you have to. Just the eye test of what he's physically capable of is still a question mark. Like, I think Mac Jones can be a really good game manager, like he was his rookie season. I think we know that he can be somebody that has a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, takes care of the football, makes the offense tick, to the efficiency that the playmakers around it has the potential to tick. But is he going to elevate the group? Is he going to make the wow plays, the plays out of structure, the plays that he's not expected to just like hit the 7-yard slant? Like, is he going to be able to add his own dressing to it? And I don't think we've seen that yet to say that he can do that. Can he be a really serviceable NFL starter and carry a good team to 10-11 wins? Yeah, I think so. But can he really push the envelope to make them a Super Bowl contender?
I mean, I just have to. I can't ignore the context of who he has to go against. And I mean, you have a Hall of Fame quarterback in your division now. You have Josh Allen, who you've beaten once, recently in a win game, and Tua, who you haven't beaten yet. So, for as fine as Mac Jones can be, it can't just be fine. Like, he has to beat these guys this year.
And I think this is another one of those things that more than one thing can be true. I think that they were set up to fail with the structure of the offensive coaching staff last year. I think Tim is exactly right. But I don't think that if you are a great quarterback, that means you're doomed to fail. Like, I think you overcome that if you have that kind of ability. Now, again, if I'm going to list the list of problems from last year, certainly Patricia being offensive coordinator is above Mac Jones. But Mac Jones is up there. He didn't play well.
I just keep coming back to the same thing with Mac.
Thanks, Tim.
Is he going to be along for the ride, or is he going to be pulling the wagon, right? And if it's okay if he's along for the ride, but then your team building needs to reflect that the quarterback.
You got to go get DeAndre Hopkins
right.
and Dalvin Cook.
I mean, I just think there are so many examples of people that you could come up with that, and I don't have a specific one off the top of my head right now, but like, these quarterbacks who have a merry-go-round of offensive coordinators and they flame out of the league, and you're like, oh, that guy stunk. He was overrated. No one ever said, well, what did Zach Wilson have for an offensive coordinator? Like, did anybody ever say that? No. And to me, if you were watching Zach Wilson play, Zach Wilson was part of the problem, a big part of it. Like, I don't think we do that for here. I don't think we do that with Mac Jones. It was all Patricia. I think Patricia was a big part of it. I think Mac Jones was a big part of it too. I don't think he played well.
Yeah, he was surrounded by kind of the same guys in minicamp, but it looked kind of the same. I mean, it's just he is what he is, and until I see him get out there in a competitive situation and push that envelope a little bit, where all right, they're humming right now, and he's kind of locked in, like. I agree with, Tim's general point that there were times during that rookie season where, specifically Cleveland, where you felt like he was locked in and cooking. And, and there were even some times last year, they weren't a lot. But, but I think Paul's point about the way that rookie season ended, getting your doors absolutely blown off in Buffalo, that put a shadow over that whole season.
And Evan, I have a question for you because you said there's a possibility he could be a really good game manager.
Yeah.
But in today's NFL, is that good enough?
If you build up the roster around the quarterback.
Well, who's the game manager that has gone to a Super Bowl or won it or
Jimmy
gone
Garoppolo.
As a game manager?
I think what Jimmy was a couple years ago in San Francisco is what you would expect Mac to look like when he has Deebo Samuel and George Kittle and, all these great offensive line play, great scheme. Like, everything is great for him. And if he can be that, then I think with Belichick and with Bill O'Brien back and with all the right coaches in place, that they could be a team that makes some noise. But their team building does not reflect that.
Well, so you're saying a game manager must have great players around them.
Yeah. And their team building is they think that Devontae Parker and Kendrick Bourne and Juju Smith-Schuster is enough. So if you feel that way, then you must really believe in the quarterback, because Brady could win with that. Like, if Brady had these playmakers, they'd be the favorites to win the Super Bowl. We all know that, but they don't have him anymore. Like, he's not here anymore, and you can't run the team like you still have Tom Brady under center, because you don't. So that's what has to give to me is you either need to decide that Mac is just kind of along for the ride, which means that we have to sign DeAndre Hopkins and we have to sign Dalvin Cook and we have to draft receivers every single year and try to really surround him with superstar talent, or you have to think that Mac is going to take the next step and be the guy that's doing the heavy lifting. And I don't know what evidence we have to suggest that Mac is going to be the one that's going to be this MVP caliber guy.
Speaking of Schuster, has he been active on social media lately?
I'm not
He's
sure.
been pretty
Paul?
quiet.
I'm lost on social media because of all this stuff.
Have you been watching his TikToks?
Have you been
Paul?
threading, Paul?
Yeah, I don't do TikTok.
I'm just wondering,
under
like,
the best of circumstances, but I like, seriously, this stuff that's going on with Twitter and Threads and all these other
Mastodon.
things. I don't know. I don't know where even to find.
No,
these
but I'm
guys.
just wondering, like where is he? Where's Schuster?
Where is
He's been posting. He's big on Instagram
Okay, all right.
and TikTok, obviously.
So
You
he's
sure,
not.
you're sure it was him?
He's
No,
not in
I'm
hiding or
not.
anything. Okay.
And by the way, like the whole game manager thing, I agree with the boys here. Like, there are always exceptions, and what worries me about this particular case is usually when you have a young guy that when you can afford it, you go out and load it up, and then you can have a game manager. I mean, there'll be a game manager that wins it all. I mean, right now it's been Brady, it's been Mahomes, and it's been those guys in the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowls. But I'm not going to be stunned if Brock Purdy is San Francisco's quarterback next year and the Niners go to the title. Like, will I be surprised? Yes, I will be surprised. But that's a roster certainly capable of going to the Super Bowl. They were one game away last year.
I mean, I've seen more out of Tua as far as the game manager to believe that he would be the kind of guy
and I'm
that could do
I'm
that
not saying like
than-
that's what I think
than
Mac
Mac
Jones,
so far.
but I'm saying if Mac Jones turns into a really good game manager, I think Kirk Cousins is a game manager, and they haven't been able to win the game. Like, that's my opinion of the ceiling for those guys. Is you could be a playoff team, but you're not going deep in the playoffs. But there's always the exception. And San Francisco right now, to me, is lined up to be an exception.
So it's the definition of a game manager, any quarterback who's not elite but not bad?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Good, not great.
He's
I mean,
fine.
what's
He's
wrong with
fine.
that?
He's fine.
I don't think that is.
Well,
I used to sort of think, like, when Brady early in his career, people tagged him with the game manager thing, and I used to say all the time, "What's wrong with that? This is a guy who almost never makes mistakes. He's
Gets him in the right play.
The difference between him and average Joe game manager was absolutely immense in the clutch.
Yeah.
And Brady had that from day one.
Yep.
But early on, he handed the ball off a lot. He relied on his defense a lot. They punted a lot, and then he made plays when he had to. You can win like that.
But you mentioned the rookie contract for the quarterback, and they haven't done that.
That's what I'm saying. That's what worries me.
They haven't maximized the window, and we're sitting here on July 6th. My dates are all messed up. July 6th, and they have $16 million in cap space right now to use right now. Why are you sitting on $16 million in cap space when you have 33 guys under contract for next year that aren't on rookie deals? So they have $100 million in cap space projected for next year. Why? Like, what are you saving the money for?
That was my question earlier.
And it's just
Kyle Duggar.
They always say.
I know this is a Miguel question. You guys might not know. Miguel would have it right off the top. What is the operating cost that you need?
About $6 million.
Yeah,
bucks.
I think Miguel usually says about 6.
But you can always, like we all know, you can always move the money around in season to figure it out. Right.
That's a different thing altogether.
Yeah.
They always
Just was
say,
wondering.
and when Bill went on the real cash spending answer that he gave a couple years ago that everybody Paul shows loves to play and stuff like that. I think the main thing that he was trying to get across is that we spend to the cap. We don't necessarily hand out bonuses and stuff like that to go way over the cap, which is where the real cash comes in, but we spend to the cap every year. They are currently not spending to the cap. So you have this $16 million in cap space right now. If it goes to DeAndre Hopkins tomorrow, then like I'll get off the soapbox. But like for right now, you have cap space this year, you have cap space next year, and you have a team that needs help. Yeah. So at some point you have to. The cap space is great to talk about. It's fun. Oh, cool. We have all this cap space next year. You need to fill it with players. Like if you're not filling it with players, and that's why I said I would also pay Uche, because that's a good football player. That's a double-digit sack guy. I think in terms of like pure one-on-one pass rushing, he's probably your best. I'm going to beat the left tackle and I'm going to get to the quarterback guy on your roster, and you have all kinds of money.
Yeah.
So I don't know what. That's a part of it. The rookie contract thing really bugs me because they have not maximized that window. They have not gone out except 1 year, max rookie year in the 2021 free agency. They have not gone out and paid everybody else around the quarterback to make the team significantly better around the QB. They've stuck to their guns on their typical spending model of conservatism, really. Yeah. And when you had Brady, it worked. I don't know if that team building strategy works now.
Well, I mean, and to say like they probably wouldn't ever have had $16 million in cap space at this point when Brady was even under contract. You know? Like it's even worse right now for what Max. I mean, it ties into that.
I bet you they did.
Yeah,
there was probably years where they did, but at the same time, that flexibility was always used eventually, right? So like the years that I've been covering the team, they had cap space in 19, and they gave it to Antonio Brown and Mohamed Sanu. So they made moves in season. Now, they didn't work out, but they made moves in season to use that surplus of cap space. So the rollover cap only matters if you're up against it next year. But they're not up against it next year. So saving the cap space to roll it over, so you're just, instead of $100 million in cap space, now you have 110. I don't think that's really...
But I think the CBA rules are... I don't know if it's every 3 or 4 years you have to true up.
3 years, yeah.
You have to use it all up.
Yeah.
You can't hold on to it.
Yeah, and so that's, and then, I mean, it's a talking point right now, but it's like, do you want to be in the top cash spending team every single season? Like, I don't think that's why good business.
That was the other thing that he said, and that I think is accurate. Teams don't look at it in a year-to-year basis when it comes to cash. They look at it in a 3-year span. So because they spent all that money in 2021, the 2022 and 2023 budgets go down to make up for the fact that they spent all that money in 21. So in some respects, I understand what he gets killed for it now.
Well, that's what Bill was talking about.
Right.
The 3 years.
Yeah. But I understand what he was saying from a budgeting standpoint for them, what they're doing. But I don't care about I don't care if they spend $400 million, $500 million on the football team. Can you at least spend to the cap? Like, and it's not. It just. This is why, like, DeAndre Hopkins is sitting out there. Like, how is DeAndre Hopkins not a Patriot by now? Like, what? And if it's
bacon in his clam chowder.
If it's Hopkins, then I can't blame them for the fact that Hopkins doesn't want to come here, right? Like, I can't hold that against them. But if it's
bacon,
if it's money, like if it's a difference between a couple million on a contract, then that's not a good look.
I told you.
I also wonder if he's not getting blown away. I think he's just, Fred said it early in the show, I think he's just content to wait it out and wait till camp is here, and he doesn't want to, like...
Or camp is over.
I don't know if he'll wait all the way till camp is over, but I wouldn't be surprised if he waits till camp starts.
Right, like if he signs next week and then he claims that he needs 2 weeks to get his body right, to get up to speed, and then all of a sudden...
I'd be surprised.
We see him in joint practices in Green Bay for the first time. Like, that's sort of like...
his hamstring.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Why...
Wasn't it shit?
Will,
all right, go ahead. Go to Will. He's been waiting.
Will is in Arkansas. What's up, Will?
Hey, Will.
Hey, guys. Y'all were talking a little bit about quarterback talk and game managers, though. The reason I'm calling, it's, not so much a former game manager, but former gunslinger. I didn't get to call in last week, but huge props to the team, Bill, Tom, and all the others for the tributes for Ryan Mallett.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it was a whole shock for the state and for me and other Patriot fans that are fans of the Razorbacks. It was really a double whammy for us.
Yeah, had Ryan gone? Had he been doing a lot in Arkansas? Had he gone back and done stuff after his college days?
Yeah, a little bit. After he got done playing with the Ravens, he went into coaching. He was an assistant coach at one high school. Last year was his first year as a head coach in another high school about 30 miles south of Little Rock. There were people cheering him on and wishing him well, and then news happened last week with the drowning, and his players, assistants were just all heartbroken by the news.
Yeah.
Just 35 years old.
That's
and
tough.
4 years older than me. I'm 31 now.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for the call, Will.
And that's what a lot of the Patriots said that I think maybe Bill said it somewhere, that he always said he wanted to be a coach, and that's exactly the path that he was on.
When you saw him at camp, did his arm just jump off the field with what he had a cannon?
He had a good arm, but did not.
No.
Contrary to Mike Mayock's statement. 1 year, he looked like a guy who had trouble. First of all, he had definite trouble changing speeds.
Yeah.
And I think Josh mentioned that in one of the things that I read. He had accuracy issues. But, yeah, he could throw. I mean, he could definitely, quote-unquote, make all the throws. But unlike the guys that you say can't make all the throws, the ones he had trouble making were the quote-unquote easier ones.
It's like
the timing routes in the backfield, the check downs, and he had trouble with those. He did. But, I mean, there was definite skill there. And by all accounts, a terrific kid that did everything that was asked of him.
Yeah.
All right, take a break. Paul's Foods here. We'll be right back after this.
Finally, a phone plan that puts you in charge. Introducing the new My Plan from Verizon. Control what goes into your plan and what stays out of it. Get exactly what you want, only pay for what you need. Get My Plan at your Verizon store today. It's your Verizon.
Patriot Place is the region's #1 shopping, dining, and entertainment destination. Shop your favorites, including Vineyard Vines, Express, Bass Pro Shops, Petco, and more. Enjoy dining at one of our 19 restaurants, including Six String Grill and Stage, Scorpion Bar, and Bar Louie. And don't forget about the entertainment. Explore your inner artist at Muse Paint Bar. Watch a movie at Showcase Cinema Deluxe, or grab a controller and start gaming at Helix Esports. For a complete directory listing, please visit patriot-place.com.
How did Verizon build the fastest 5G in the world? We started by building it right with 5G Ultra Wideband. Then we gave it massive capacity and near zero lag. And it's not just fast, it's 25 times faster than today's 4G networks. This is 5G built right from the network more people rely on, only on Verizon. 5G Ultra Wideband available only in parts of select cities. Global claim based on open signal independent analysis. 25 times analysis by Ookla Speed Test Intelligence data Q2 2020.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes.
Oh no.
Replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Some people are never content with simply being good. Not when they can be great. But it takes a big step to get there. In fact, it takes a leap of faith, a belief in what you're striving toward, and a willingness to make the commitment, day in and day out, to something bigger than yourself. Putnam is proud to partner with those who share their own commitment to performance excellence. This is Matt Light for Putnam Investments, a world of investing.
There's no season better than football season. And there's no better place to get in on all of the action than with DraftKings, the official daily fantasy sports partner of the New England Patriots. To add to the thrill, DraftKings has millions of dollars in prizes up for grabs every week. So head to the app now and check it out. If you haven't tried it yet, fantasy football is easy to play. Just pick 9 players, stay under the salary cap, and pile up points for yards, touchdowns, receptions, and so much more. There's no better way to put your football knowledge to the test than to compete for a shot at $1 million in total prizes. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week. That's promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week, only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Patriots fans, you'll want to check out the replay on this one. Pat the Patriot is stealing the show tonight with his Bank of America mobile banking app.
That's right, folks. So here we see Pat cheering, and then whammo! Is that Bank of America life plan?
Looks like he's saving up for some big future moves. Planning the next vacay, huh, big guy?
And wait, now he's paying back his buddy for concessions using Zelle? No penalty there. Incredible!
No way! As if that double move wasn't impressive enough, now he's beefing up his account defense with security meter? Holy cannoli, what a performance!
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive, Patriot fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/banking. You must be enrolled in online banking or download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Terms and conditions apply. Member FDIC.
Want to get into the game? Get coached up at Dean College. Equipped with exclusive academic partnerships featuring the Patriots, Revolution, Providence Bruins, summer baseball, and more, our classrooms are set up for success by learning directly from the pros. Dean College has programs in communications, sports management, business, and marketing with unprecedented hands-on experiences. Our students take what they learn in the classroom and put it right to work in the marketplace. At Dean College, our students don't just play games, we run them. Visit us at dean.edu.
Finally, a phone plan that puts you in charge. Introducing the new My Plan from Verizon. Control what goes into your plan and what stays out of it. Get exactly what you want, only pay for what you need. Get My Plan at your Verizon store today. It's your Verizon.
Patriot Place is the region's #1 shopping, dining, and entertainment destination. Shop your favorites, including Vineyard Vines, Express, Bass Pro Shops, Petco, and more. Enjoy dining at one of our 19 restaurants, including Six String Grill and Stage, Scorpion Bar, and Bar Louie. And don't forget about the entertainment. Explore your inner artist at Muse Paint Bar. Watch a movie at Showcase Cinema Deluxe, or grab a controller and start gaming at Helix Esports. For a complete directory listing, please visit patriot-place.com.
How did Verizon build the fastest 5G in the world? We started by building it right with 5G Ultra Wideband. Then we gave it massive capacity and near zero lag. And it's not just fast, it's 25 times faster than today's 4G networks. This is 5G built right from the network more people rely on, only on Verizon. 5G Ultra Wideband available only in parts of select cities. Global claim based on open signal independent analysis. 25 times analysis by Ookla Speed Test Intelligence data Q2 2020.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
Oh no.
replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Some people are never content with simply being good. Not when they can be great. But it takes a big step to get there. In fact, it takes a leap of faith, a belief in what you're striving toward, and a willingness to make the commitment, day in and day out, to something bigger than yourself. Putnam is proud to partner with those who share their own commitment to performance excellence. This is Matt Light for Putnam Investments. a world of investing.
There's no season better than football season, and there's no better place to get in on all of the action than with DraftKings, the official daily fantasy sports partner of the New England Patriots. To add to the thrill, DraftKings has millions of dollars in prizes up for grabs every week, so head to the app now and check it out. If you haven't tried it yet, fantasy football is easy to play. Just pick 9 players, stay under the salary cap, and pile up points for yards, touchdowns, receptions, and so much more. There's no better way to put your football knowledge to the test than to compete for a shot at $1 million in total prizes. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week. That's promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week, only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Patriots fans, you'll want to check out the replay on this one. Pat the Patriot is stealing the show tonight with his Bank of America mobile banking app.
That's right, folks. So here we see Pat cheering, and then whammo! Is that Bank of America life plan?
Looks like he's saving up for some big future moves. Planning the next vacay, huh, big guy?
And wait, now he's paying back his buddy for concessions using Zelle? No penalty there. Incredible.
No way! As if that double move wasn't impressive enough, now he's beefing up his account defense with security meter? Holy cannoli, what a performance!
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive, Patriot fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/banking. You must be enrolled in online banking or download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Terms and conditions apply. Member FDIC.
Want to get into the game? Get coached up at Dean College. Equipped with exclusive academic partnerships featuring the Patriots, Revolution, Providence Bruins, summer baseball, and more, our classrooms are set up for success by learning directly from the pros. Dean College has programs in communications, sports management, business, and marketing with unprecedented hands-on experiences. Our students take what they learn in the classroom and put it right to work in the marketplace. At Dean College, our students don't just play games, we run them. Visit us at dean.edu.
Finally, a phone plan that puts you in charge. Introducing the new My Plan from Verizon. Control what goes into your plan and what stays out of it. Get exactly what you want, only pay for what you need. Get My Plan at your Verizon store today. It's your Verizon.
And now, great moments in history.
Good lobster bisque is like sex for your throat. I do remember saying that.
I don't, but that's even funnier than
good
you
lobster
loving
bisque
pie.
is like sex for your throat. There's
Plus it was Dan.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt Dan.
If you're looking for a good lobster bisque on the Cape, the Daniel Webster Inn sandwich has an excellent lobster bisque.
You have the place down the Cape.
Oh yeah.
For everything.
Well, if you haven't noticed, I eat out a lot because I don't cook, and my wife doesn't really particularly enjoy it either. So we eat out a lot. But
yeah, my wife and I eat out a lot too.
Yeah. I enjoy the whole thing about eating out. I do. You know, I like the sitting down, getting a drink, placing the order. I just
You know what I
enjoy that.
really like when on like a Saturday night, especially in the summer, if it's nice out, you get to a place on the water and your table's not ready, and you go to the bar and have maybe a couple of drinks while you're waiting for your table.
Yeah.
And that to me is like.
See,
There's a couple hours.
See, I
that's
don't like
perfect
that
for me.
I
That's
don't
perfect
like that.
for me.
I don't like having to be in a place where I know I'm going to have to move as soon as they call my name. I like to just be where I'm going to be and settle in.
You fat bastard.
No, it's not about laziness.
I don't want to move.
That's another great moment from
All right, welcome back to Patriots Unfiltered.
As I eat my
855
French
PATS
fries.
500 is the Ace Ticket hotline. Web radio at patriots.com is the email address. It's Deuce, it's Evan, it's Paul, it's myself here on a lazy Thursday afternoon. Dog days of the NFL. It's been dog days, Other than, the early stuff with Hopkins that happened, it's been pretty quiet.
The extensions were nice last week. Gave us something to talk about.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got away from it from a couple weeks, but I'm feeling pretty excited.
Well, I
about
guess Jack
camp and
Jones
stuff.
too. I can't forget that. Yeah.
That
Was there any more scuttlebutt about that? Because I kept seeing people say that there might
No.
be, but
this is not the time for me to go on this
Yeah,
rant.
no,
but
I
like,
know.
stop believing everything that you read on Twitter. Like, please, like
Or
some random Twitter
Mastodon
account
was the other
that claims that he writes for the Athletic, and then like people are like, oh, like where did you read this? And he shares a link that doesn't go to anywhere. It's like, can we just have a little bit of effort to figure out if this person is actually a real?
So what did that faux person say? I didn't.
That the
I'm not aware of
charges
this.
against Jack Jones had been dropped. And I had real life people DMing me on Twitter asking me if that was accurate.
Yeah.
Well, I took 4 plane flights, and every single time we were going through security, my kids would look at like the "Don't bring loaded guns" in. They'd be like, "Dad, look."
Yeah.
Like, there it is.
Yeah. Johnson in Porter's Lake, Nova Scotia. I was listening to one of Paul's shows when they mentioned the Jim Irsay collection coming to Boston. I'm not sure the new staffers would have as much insight as Paul and Fred. Are you able to share any cool collectibles that you've seen or heard about Robert Kraft having? Yeah, Jim Irsay has an unbelievable collection of not just guitars, but other stuff too.
Really?
You know, like stuff from movies, and like he's a collector. He's a true collector. Spends a lot of money.
He's got a bunch of money. And
Yeah.
just buying crap.
And Robert, I don't know if it's stuff he's collected, but stuff he's been given.
That car he's got, that
Yeah,
blue one.
well, that Bentley.
thing, oof.
But he's got some cool stuff that's been given to him as gifts, and none of them I can remember right now. But I just know that he's got a lot of cool stuff over the years that has been given to him. Yeah.
You got any cool stuff, Paul?
No, he was asking if Fred and I might know things that Robert has. I just let Fred answer that because I would not be privy to that the way Fred is.
You don't have any collectors.
No one ever gave you a Bentley or anything, Paul?
I always liked Chancey Stuckey. Remember him?
Yeah, he's actually the Baylor wide receiver coach, Coach Taekwon Thornton.
Ah, bringing it all together.
Chancey Stuckey. I always liked him.
He's like
I don't know what cool.
He's like your Kiki Kuti guys.
Oh, he's a lot better than Kiki.
What's the coolest thing that you own, like of that ilk, Deuce?
Oh, I don't have anything that's cool.
I gotta
You
think.
got your rings.
I gotta think for
Well,
a second.
I suppose you're right.
Yeah.
Some people might.
I
Find
mean,
those
I do.
cool.
I really my grandfather's scrapbooks are pretty cool. I
Okay.
mean, I know that's
Yeah.
not like a fancy thing, but there's a lot of really cool history in those and stuff. So that's one. I found a random like bullet musket in like a sand pit growing up, and I always thought that was kind of cool. I mean, I'm talking like average people things.
Yeah.
Like I found an artifact in a sand pit once, and I collected it. But not a lot. I mean, I got some old family stuff. But that's about it. Nothing.
What about you, Evan? I imagine you have some cool things.
Yeah, I have a lot of sports memorabilia stuff. I was really into that as a kid. So for like presents, like for birthdays and stuff like that, I would ask for a lot of that kind of stuff. My grandfather has, that he passed down to me when he passed away, an autographed Joe DiMaggio picture that's like 1 in 1,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
So that one is worth like a little bit of something, not like millions of dollars, but like maybe 1,000 or something like that.
Probably more than that to a real collector.
Yeah, so that's worth a little something. And then I have some things that were gifted to me, like I have a game used David Ortiz and Manny Ramirez bat, like their actual bat that they use in the game, and stuff like kind of stuff like that. But the DiMaggio thing is the rarest thing in the house.
I know somebody who has a J.C. Jackson game ball.
Oh.
Tease.
Yeah, I have a Gil Hodges autograph I got when I was like 6 years old that I can't find right now.
Who's that, Gil Hodges?
He was the manager of the Mets.
I
He
have
came into my
a
father's hardware store when I was like 6.
A football autographed by our Steve Grogan.
Yeah.
That my dad won at an auction.
Everybody's got a Bobby Orr autograph, right? Like you're just
No,
issued those
I
when
don't.
you're born here in Boston.
I actually have his book, and he signed it.
I
My
got the
mother-in-law
same
got it for me.
That was the
Christmas
VIP
one year.
package when
Paul,
you're born.
do you have your Hall of Fame ring still from BU?
No.
Got rid of it?
Just the bust. They did a bust of him.
Huh? What do you have from that?
Certificate. It's right next to his game.
Like a little plaque.
You got a plaque?
I do not have it with my gambling certification.
Hall of Fame. took a test in 2020.
So it's funny because the listeners might find that kind of interesting. You know, I always sort of make that comment like, oh, I took the course that we had that everybody's required to take, and that's kind of gotten into the news lately.
Right.
About
Oh, yeah.
all these players getting caught.
Yeah.
And
Jonathan, was it Jonathan Jones that said,
Yeah.
we put our body in the line, but
One
we
of the-
can't.
one of the
like,
dumbest
like
things
someone
I've
needs to
seen.
sit him down and explain to him
how it works.
all the bad things that can happen.
Like maybe on the week that you don't bet on your team.
Exactly.
Like what
or,
that indicates.
Or if you get in the hole a lot and you start chasing, and then someone makes you an offer.
And that
you know,
Mud Nut Florio is like, he makes a good point.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Just
okay.
not a good point.
Terry Bradshaw?
Florio's
Still
been
alive?
on. Florio's been on one.
Yeah. Decided to dig up like an old Bill quote. This weekend.
It was from the owners' meetings. There's a Mr. Kraft quote about cash spending from the owners' meetings that he then somehow resurfaces 3 months. Even Bedard quote tweeted it and was like, "This was 3 months old." Like, I don't know why. Yeah.
Think about it this way. Like, what if you were a parent? You're like, I'm going to start betting on my kids' grades in school. Like, there's a lot of motivation there to like do things that you shouldn't be doing.
Such a weird. I mean, we don't have to get into it, but I mean, the amount of money that pumped in this league by those. But that's
So I didn't mean to get off on that tangent, but I talk about I print out those certificates just in case they check. I have them.
Yeah.
Don't
need
you,
it. You're glad you
don't you know I needed it because they said that I didn't complete. It wasn't gambling specific. It was part of the rest of the training, but I had the certificate to show them, and I was like, right here.
Do you take it out of the frame? To show
Something
'em,
must
or-
have happened.
Yeah.
Must have been a glitch in the
But
system.
yeah,
Yep.
I mean, like I said, somebody needs to sit Jonathan Jones down and explain to him why you can't do it. You just can't. It's not a matter of principle or unfairness. It's just not good.
And I would just say, like, if things go incredibly well and exceed all of your expectations, you're going to have a 10-year career.
Yeah.
You can't wait 10 years to bet.
Right. Right.
Need the juice.
And if you truly can't wait, then you have a problem. And that's not good.
And you could bet on other sports outside of the building, right?
Well, that's a weird part to me about the rule. So they can't bet on NFL games, which is obvious, but they can bet on NBA games as long as they're outside the facility. But like we were talking about that Michael Rubin Fanatics party. Like a lot of these people run in similar circles, right? So like if they're thinking of betting on an NBA game and like somebody on the Patriots texts Jason Tatum and is like, hey, like, are you
How's your
playing
ankle?
tonight?
Yeah,
like,
right.
or what's going on?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't understand how that's like
inside info.
really any different.
Yeah.
That's probably why we can't. 'cause
I
it's
can't.
the same
I
thing,
can't
right?
believe that they're allowed to bet on those sports. But
Yeah.
I also would say, in the players' defense, that's where I would go with the Jonathan Jones side. Like, so you lose 6 games because you put that bet in the parking lot instead of waiting till you got on Route 1. Like, that doesn't seem right to me.
That's Jameson Williams.
Yeah. Let's see. About signing Hopkins, L from Wisconsin says, Mike is totally right. The team needs a guy like Hopkins. However, that's been the case since like 2019, and the team has really shown no interest in adding someone there. I don't know if they'll sign Hopkins, but the fact that he isn't here means to me that they didn't prioritize going out and getting him. I think they're fully okay letting him go if a place like Tennessee is willing to go over Bill's wide receiver value. Now, we can't forget 2 years ago when they had that spending spree. I mean, the guys didn't or haven't worked out yet, but they signed.
They spent a lot of money on
Bourne
Aguilar
and Parker last year. So they have signed wide receivers and spent
not the right one.
big money doing it.
It's not big money though. Like they've signed wide receivers at a certain level of wide receiver spending.
Right.
But
2 years ago they bought the best guys on the market. Right?
Well, I don't think
debatable.
I'm talking about free agent, not
I don't
trades or anything like that.
I mean, you're talking about Aguilar and Bourne?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Who was better at the time that was available?
Corey Davis was the best wide receiver available in that class.
He was the one that popped in my mind.
Okay.
To the masses. But the main point I was making wasn't necessarily. Nelson Aguilar got a 2-year, $22 million deal. Next year, Tyreek Hill is going to get $30 million for 1 year, right? So it's not top of the market money that they've spent. They've spent in the same the same bracket that they always spend in, which is this middle tier, $6 to $11 million.
Which I always complain about because they paid a lot of money for Nelson Aguilar. That was a lot. Like, to me, that was a lot of money for him.
Yeah.
I would rather spend twice that on someone I think is worth it.
Yeah.
Rather than a complimentary piece. That's where I always get frustrated with. Like, that's why I always push back at the people that say they're cheap. I don't think they're cheap. I think they spend their money in a way that I wouldn't. They're so hell-bent on their roster construction.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That they won't deviate from it. They don't want, like, there's a reason why people like Adam Schefter make those comments about Juju Smith-Schuster as the highest paid wide receiver on the roster, because they're trying to establish what the hierarchy is.
Mm-hmm.
And no one can make more than X. And I think I don't want 4 guys making X. I want 2 guys making X and 2 guys making way above that. X times 3, whatever that happens to be.
Speaking of Fresno, on the issue Mike and Evan mentioned earlier that the Patriots have oodles of cap space in the coming years owing to not paying for big-time talent, I kind of have this belief that Bill thinks the team's history of outrageous success is rooted mostly in the strong middle class he's built, more than it was based on
Perfect
the
timing
superhuman.
for my rant.
More than it was based on the superhuman spackle that was Tom Brady. I don't think Bill sees it any differently, even to this day, and that's a big reason the offensive roster is what it currently is. I see that aspect of the GM's team-building strategy as the albatross in the room, quietly weighing the team down. Am I exaggerating the issue?
Well, I would just bring up the draft because I think, that's a way to get around all this. And, sure, we'd all, be happy to welcome DeAndre Hopkins here for, whatever. I mean, at this point with the cap space that they have. But I just think the real answer is not about the lack of going out and spending a bunch of money on a free agent. It's not drafting guys that you can develop. And we all know the list of guys that they passed up to take other different receivers and yada, yada, yada. But I think that, to me, is where the biggest problem is. I mean, it'd be a good problem to have, to be looking at Deebo Samuel and saying, let's give him the contract. We drafted him. We developed him. Go for the moon to pay him. And it's hard to imagine that, say, N'Keal Harry was a superstar, that N'Keal Harry would still be here. Like they would probably ride him for all he was worth.
That's
and
my
then
biggest
let him
problem.
walk.
If Tyquan Thornton rips it up the next 3 years, you think they're re-signing him?
Right.
Top of the market?
I don't think they're re-signing anybody. Like, who do you like? I mean, we like Duggar, absolutely. But after that,
Love that email.
The next one, it's you got all this money and no one to spend it on. It feels like, unless you do another 2021. And to Fred's point, it's risky. Not all those guys are going to work out. A couple probably will, but not all of them.
But it's such a good point about their draft strategy. Is in the short term, they don't really draft receivers high. Like Tyquan Thornton gets drafted 50th overall, and then they don't draft a receiver this year until the 6th round because they don't want to spend at the top of the draft in terms of draft capital again on that position. But then they also probably won't spend on Tyquan Thornton in 4 years if he ends up being a good player. So it's like you have to have one. You got to at some point you got to pony up somewhere, either with a first round draft pick or with money. Like there has to be something going to that position to move the needle.
Especially in today's NFL. Willem and Philem on the Ace Ticket Hotline. What's up, William?
Hey, what's going on, Fred? How you doing?
All right.
Is there interference or anything on your podcast, basically?
No. And there's not even any beeping today. It's amazing.
We had a little bit of a.
I don't know. Are you hearing something
at the
on
very
your
beginning
end?
of the show? We had a little bit of an audio issue,
Yeah.
but that was cleared up immediately.
When y'all talk and whatnot, it just seems like it's just a little bit of interference, and then everything clears up after that. It's just I don't know.
Okay.
But other than that, my question, I got a question for Evan. So Evan, how much did we give Antonio Brown? Well, how much did Bill Belichick give Antonio Brown?
That was a nice contract that they gave Antonio Brown.
I thought it was $9 million.
Yeah, I can't remember it off the top of my
Okay.
head, but it was a decent amount of money.
Okay, so with that, and also with Paul saying they overpaid for Nelson Aguilar, Sam Hopkins, he's sitting there. I mean, I'm just like you, Evan. I don't understand. You sitting on $16 million. Why? I don't understand why you ain't signing him. What are you waiting for? Because if he gets picked up, that's it.
Well,
that's it.
Am I right?
Mr.
Am I right in
What
saying
is
that there is an offer out there?
Yeah,
I
mean, it does
would
take
assume
two to
I would
Right.
assume that. I do not know that.
consummate the deal.
So if he agreed to the offer today, they'd sign him. But obviously, the offer's not big enough where
He's
he'd
gonna
say, "All right, he's going to jump
What
at
you're
it."
saying makes sense. I do not know that
Yeah.
for 100% fact.
Yeah, it's not like I think they would sign him if he would take the offer. But right now, the offer isn't enough to make him move right away.
But I think people like Mike and Evan are of the mindset like, make the offer that you know he'll take.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
Like you need this guy.
But if you know that his thinking is I'm going to wait till camp, do you still make the offer now and let him sit on it, or do you hold back on the offer until you know he wants it when he's ready?
I
and then
want to tell you what the Red Sox would do, and the Patriots have done in the past.
do the
Why do we want to do what the Red Sox do?
And the Patriots have done in the past with a couple of guys. Yesterday's offer ain't today's offer.
Yeah.
So you want to wait till training camp?
Yeah. Maybe it's the
We'll
same.
see what
maybe
happens.
it's lower. Yeah.
I never would have let him leave the building, quite honestly. So
True.
It
Just one more question, real fast, and then I'm out your way. To Deuce, too. You always say the draft. I agree with you, Deuce. I really do. Okay, it's just look at their history of drafting receivers, man.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I swear, this is the only team that can just F it up when it comes to a receiver. I don't understand why y'all can't identify talent. It's like it's kryptonite to the Patriots for some reason. I don't know.
I know. It's
It's
weird,
true
and-
because that's one of the only positions that these young guys leave here, and they don't do anything anywhere else. There's a lot of positions that they draft, whether they're mid-round picks, late-round picks. You see some promise. Guys catch on elsewhere. They receive like Taylor Price, N'Keal Harry,
Aaron
Dobson, Brandon Tate. Like these guys with
Josh Boyce.
Really, Josh Boyce.
Oh.
You
Fred,
like Boyce.
I liked Boyce.
Yeah,
I did. I like Boyce.
Right.
But none of those guys ever
Willem.
went somewhere else. So it's not even
Right.
like you could say, well, it's a development problem. Like they're not developing
Yeah.
the receivers. No, they're picking the wrong ones. They're not doing anything anywhere else either.
And it's funny, like not to put too much, but I mean, I followed the draft when I was Patriots blogger boy and pom pom wear and doing all that stuff. And
Thanks for
even
that.
then, it was like Aaron Dawson, like N'Keal Harry, like even that guy, that blogger, it was a head scratcher.
There's
It was
just
hard getting
over the
excited
years,
about
there's
it.
just been too much going
Too
against
many
the
of
grain.
those.
Jermaine Cunningham and things like that. It's just overthinking it.
Yeah. And it's like if you're gonna, I don't know. There's just been so many. You can go back and rewrite it and say they could have had this, they could have had that, but like it doesn't seem that hard to look at A.J. Brown and Deebo Samuel and say these guys pit exactly the kind of what they tell us they want: tough, versatile players that are quick.
Don't get me started about Deebo Samuel.
I mean, it's not hard, and I mean even the guys who should be like, I love every pick. We're like, really? Like that doesn't seem like your kind of guy. Like that doesn't seem. There's been so many of those, like you said. I mean, on both sides of the ball, but specifically to receiver, it's hard to remember the last time they drafted a wide receiver that you were like, oh, this guy's going to be good. This is what they need. Like even Thornton, you're like, okay, that doesn't really seem like their kind of guy though. He's tall and skinny. Like,
when they drafted Thornton, I was like, so he ran a 4.28 and you drafted him in the second round. Like
Evan needed therapy
because his film was not. I mean, he had good stats at Baylor his last year there. I think he almost put up like 1,000 yards in their offense and was a productive player. But he was a productive player because he ran away from everybody at the college level. Right? It's this wide open game, and he runs this 4.28. It's just basically like running 100 meter, and he's the fastest guy on the field. But his route running was raw in college. Like his ability to really break down and get open at the top of the route and do all those types of things was a developmental project to begin with. And then you add on top of their failures in the draft at that position, you're like, so you drafted a developmental receiver, which you can't develop. So like forget about like, I know everybody, George Pickens is like the one that everybody's like, well, why didn't they draft George Pickens? But there was also guys, like Alec Pierce, who's had a decent rookie season with Indianapolis. Like these were guys were finished.
Fred like that.
Like they were like more finished products coming in, and they had some more polish to them and some more experience. And it was like, if you can't develop the position, then you at least go for the high floor guy. Like, and you at least just get a guy that can play, right? And like forget about trying to chase the 4.28 speedster ceiling type players. But I will say, like, to be fair to them, there's also like a little bit of a chicken or the egg situation with the draft of that they don't really use very many high picks on receivers. So it's the draft, as we know, is
that's why N'Keal Harry was such a bust. I mean, they finally did, and they picked the wrong one. You know,
I mean, I think
But even him is just 32nd overall. Like, it's not like they drafted him in the top 10, right?
I know.
So and my point is that they don't. You have to be fair in the fact that they're near the bottom of the league in like first round picks, top 50 picks, top 100 picks used at that position. They just don't value it. They just don't value it, and we value it a ton, or I value it a ton, and maybe like they're right and I'm wrong about it. But I just look at the rest of the league. Like, I look at what the other teams are doing and what the other teams value and what they see and at the receiver position, and they are all skewing towards throwing every single asset at possible, draft picks, money, whatever, to get those guys in the building. And the Patriots just don't. They just don't see it as an important like investment.
Dan in Virginia and Michigan, to hark back to an old PFW argument, given the definition you've just given of a game manager quarterback, compare and contrast the relative skill levels of a game manager quarterback and a journeyman quarterback.
The journeymans on a lot of teams.
Yeah, journeymans aren't.
They're
To
usually-
me, they're not as good.
They're usually game managers who just can't really
Right.
secure a starting job.
They're not good
Andy
enough to
Dalton
stay.
is both a game manager and a journeyman.
Perfect.
Right.
Perfect. And I mean, and Jimmy Garoppolo is slowly becoming a game manager and a journeyman. Like, it's third team now. I don't know.
Yeah, but he never played for the Patriots, so like that one doesn't really count.
Fair enough.
But like, yeah, like I think once you start bouncing around from team to team.
But those are the guys, right? I mean, that's what you want in a backup quarterback. You want a guy who's smart, who's not going to come in and throw terrible, picks and make bad decisions, and is just going to, keep things steady for a little while.
Yeah, like
Brian Hoyer, he's a journeyman, if there ever was one.
Right, but not a game manager.
No.
Because he doesn't play. He
didn't manage that
doesn't
Kansas
manage
City
the
game
games
very
well.
Yeah, game managers don't throw picks.
But that's kind of what you thought. I mean, that's when they kept bringing him back. You're like, well, he knows the system, and he'll come in, and he's not going to, go crazy and lose his mind out there. And, I mean, he went crazy and lost his mind. But
let's see. Ricardo from Italy.
He did.
Big fan of the show. After the Jawan Bentley extension, what do you think of his future as a Patriot, and what are your expectations in the coming season for him?
He'll keep signing 2-year incentive-laden deals until he retires. I don't know. I think he's a good signing.
His role will stay exactly as it's been.
I would say Jawan Bentley can play on my team anytime. Like, that guy, the way he talks, the way he plays, the way he prepares. I mean, he does everything right. And I like I said at the top, I'm surprised that I think it would have been more impactful to me if they had signed him to a 4-year deal 2 years ago than 2 2-year deals back to back, where it just seems like they're kind of kicking the can down the road. It just signals this is a guy we love. We want him here for the long term.
When Paul constructs his team, Bentley's on it.
Yeah,
because he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Who, me?
Yeah, solid guy.
Well, plus he can play. Like, I don't just want good guys that can't play. I think he fills a role.
He's tough. He's hard-nosed. And I mean, I think like this kind of goes to what Evan was saying too. Is like I think they really value, for right or wrong, they value toughness. Like, that's like the element that we want to beat teams up. We want to draft N'Keal Harry. He's a big guy. He's going to be a tough physical matchup. I don't think that they value speed and explosiveness as much as we want to physically manhandle teams. And I don't know if that's a direct kind of correlation to the league evolving into smaller, faster guys, and we want to be the big beast. But
I still think it's 2004.
Yeah, right. Well, and I mean, and even a team like Tennessee that I feel like has actually executed that game plan, where they've had a big, tough team with good lines, and but they have A.J. Brown and they have Derrick Henry, who gives their whole team that personality. I feel like the Patriots kind of flirt with it. Like, yes, they have some big guys who are tough, but I don't feel like they're overwhelmingly tough that they can just. I mean, against the bad teams, it sure works. It seems like that philosophy is great when you're playing a team that is sub half of the league. Usually they're able to have their way with those teams. Maybe not necessarily physically overwhelming them, but it seems like that's what they're invested in is toughness and that kind of guy.
Their system defensively needs the type of player that Jawan Bentley is at the middle linebacker position because they play so much odd front where the B gap bubble, like the area over the guard, is uncovered. So the guard is free, right? So he can combo, he can pull, and there's nobody's in the gap over him to threaten. So that means that guard is now always going up to the second level of the defense. So if you don't have a 250-pound sledgehammer that can take on the guard, then you're getting bowling pins, right? You're just getting run over all the time. So if they don't have that player, and he is one of the best space compressors in the league, like just press the block, hold the gap, and play fundamentally sound in that role that there is. I understand, like I said earlier, that he's not the sideline-to-sideline guy. He's not going to chase down Josh Allen. He's not going to, drop 20 yards into coverage and make a play on the football. But for what they really need him to do, that allows them to be, multiple with the safeties. That allows them to play an Adrian Phillips at the second level at 220 pounds, is because they have a guy like Bentley, who's essentially, like in most cases, like a fifth defensive lineman, in reality. And that's an important role in their defense. So I think Jawan Bentley, personally, Gerard Mayo said it last year that he thinks that he's one of the more underrated linebackers in the league, and I really think he is.
Kyle and Pembroke, including last season and Jack Jones, there's been a lot of negativity surrounding the team. However, I'm wondering what positives you guys see and what gives you hope about the team. For me, I'm happy with the past couple of draft classes, and I can't wait to see how they impact the team now that we have quality coaches.
Yeah, Gonzalez, Keon White. Very curious about Keon White, how he turns out. The young guys. I mean, that's what it is. I go back to the draft. How are these young guys progressing? Are they going to take the next step? That's the only way I really see out of the doldrums of the AFC East is to develop these draft picks and really have them become elite players that they will then hopefully resign.
Yeah.
If you're not excited about your draft class before they play a game.
No,
I agree with everything Mike just said, but they haven't played a game yet.
Listen, I'm excited about the defense. I think there's some pieces there. If they can play cohesively, I think they've got something going. And then I'm excited to just see what Bill O'Brien does with the offense and how it improves, if it improves. I'm excited for the season. I'm not like, they're not going to make the playoffs.
Take your lumps.
See, again, I would
Let's
say,
see what happens.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but you're 3 weeks ahead of training camp. I think yesterday was the 3-week mark. If you're not excited now, I don't know, are you alive? Do you care about football?
Some people are dreading it. We're not going to be good.
That's a different thing. That's work.
Okay, so
but in terms of the season, I don't know how you cannot. If you're an NFL fan, I don't know how you cannot be excited in all 32 cities right now.
But why dread it? So what if they're not good? Is it going to really kill you? Is it
catch the ball, kid?
I just have a good time with it. It's sports.
Yeah, I totally have the itch.
Me
I'm going crazy over here.
Oh, I'm glad my vacation's over with now, and it's going to be just a slow burn and to get into it. But I think to Fred's point too, it's really just what does this offense look like now? One of the callers said last year was really rough on Mac, and and I agree. And I want to see, all right, what's it look like now? He's got an offensive coordinator. It seems like they all know what they're doing. They're all on the same page right now. So now they have to execute, and you're going to get some good joint practices against a couple, interesting teams, especially Green Bay. They got good defense. Both those teams got good defenses, real good front. So we're going to get a good sense in the summer of what's cooking on offense.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to see Bill O'Brien. That's the one, and I think just listening to him talk and watching his film and from his past stops and things like that, you just can see the brain, right? You see that this is a real offensive guru. This is a guy that understands offensive football.
What if you come out of the gate and after week 3 you're like, wow, Cole Strange, it's clicking now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great. Second year
That's
guy.
not gonna do it for me.
No, but but at least you're okay, they picked this guy in the first round and he's going to be a good player.
Everybody thought he was good last year, so.
It proves my point about first-round offensive linemen. They can just basically exist and they're not busts.
He got benched 3 times, but sorry.
As long as they exist through the season, they're not a bust.
Brian in Pawtucket. Speaking of game managers and journeymen, Ryan Fitzpatrick was the rare journeyman that was definitely not a game manager.
That's a good point.
Yeah, he was kind of a
Gunslinger.
boomer bust.
Yeah, but I want to go back to this because these are kinds of things I know that no one cares, but I love these things. Just because you're a journeyman doesn't make you a game manager. Now, they're not mutually exclusive. You can be a game manager and a journeyman, and I would say if Kirk Cousins goes to a third team,
journeyman,
he's right there for both, right? But, yeah, no one would ever call Ryan Fitzpatrick a game manager.
That's a good example.
But he's been on more teams than anybody. He's definitely a journeyman.
Yeah, all 3 AFC East teams.
He's Brett Favre with worse marketing.
Brendan and Clinton, question for Evan.
Do you know how many games under 500 Ryan Fitzpatrick is for a season?
Worse
for his career.
That's my point.
And you think that's Brett Favre? How many losing seasons did Brett Favre have? One?
I'm just messing.
I like the line, though. I might steal it. He's Brett Favre with worse marketing. I might steal that.
Question for Evan. You stated, by the way, was
he interrupted himself.
Ryan Fitzpatrick at Wimbledon the other day? I think I
don't
saw
know, but
him
Megan
there.
O'Brien
was.
I know. I think I saw Ryan Fitzpatrick.
You mean
there.
Megan Moran?
Yeah.
Correct.
Megan Connolly.
You stated
She's
the
Connolly
Parker
now?
extension makes it less likely to sign Hopkins. If that's true, then who in your eyes has filled Aguilar's spot? I feel the opposite. I think the
I never
Parker
said that.
signing helps the Hopkins signing.
It does neither.
Yeah,
it's
I never
irrelevant
said that.
toward the
I just said
Hopkins
that.
signing.
I don't know where that's coming from, honestly, so I can't.
Yeah, we never broached that topic last week, that it had really much of a bearing either way.
And last,
it's irrelevant.
Can Eldred stop calling with basically the same comments on every call? Bill can coach, but he can't GM. If he's so bad at GM, explain why he's the only GM to get the team to 10 Super Bowls with 6 wins in 20 years.
'Cause
The
he had
Colts
Tom
couldn't
Brady.
do it with Peyton,
Thomas
so don't claim all the
Edward
successes because of Tom
Brady.
Brady. He's the most successful coach and GM in this era of the league, and you think he sucks? Most teams would kill to get to 1 Super Bowl in 10 years. We get it, and you don't like Bill as a GM. As a regular caller, why not bring something new to the table?
Poor Eldred.
Caller on caller.
Poor
God.
Eldred. I would just argue if Bill Belichick was as equally adept as a coach as he is as a GM, he would not have gone to 10 Super Bowls even with Tom Brady.
I'm trying to put that
What?
together. What is
If he was the same level of coach as he is a GM, he would not have
I
gone to
got you.
10
I
Super
got you.
Bowls.
I got
You
you.
would have gone to more.
I got you. No,
No.
less. 'cause
He's saying he would be a bad coach.
He would have been bad.
Oh, I see.
Correct.
I was thinking
Right,
of it the
right,
other way
right.
around. and
Reverse
so-
it. Yeah, you got it. I got it. I had to do
No,
the
I
Charlie Day diagram.
honestly, we talked about like being being the CEO in the NFL, meaning a head coach with all the power. And to me, that's one of Bill's things that I'm most impressed about is the fact that he is the head coach, he is the GM, he controls everything, and he's been able to keep it together for as long as he has. That's to me, that's a huge accomplishment besides the winning.
Yeah.
That's not easy to do. To be in control of the whole thing, and it doesn't spin out of control like in many other teams. With the internal squabbles and the entitlement that comes with winning, and players wanting more money and all that, which happens on every team. And he's been in. Has it happened here? Yes, but he's controlled it. And to me, that's huge that he's been able to do that.
He has built, because I take as many shots at Bill, the GM, as anybody, including Eldred, but he has built a ridiculously stable program.
Right.
Like the program, like just talking about
And
it
I
in
give
that
Kraft
respect.
credit for that too.
Yeah.
But
So,
like
Brady get any of that credit?
absolutely,
been all that
of course
stable the
Brady
last 3
does.
years.
But like the callers, like the emailer said, the Colts had Peyton Manning and they didn't
And-
win 6 Super Bowls, and
But
you
they
can say
won.
that's-
But they did the same thing. They were consistently a Super Bowl contender every year.
Yeah.
From Brady's Manning's second year on.
Yeah.
They did the same thing.
I just
the Patriots were better. That's why they didn't win 6 Super Bowls.
But maybe if Belichick was with Manning, then they would have been. I don't know, but I give Belichick all the credit in the world for managing the team and constructing, like Evan said,
That's fine.
I
give Brady
a
that
system that is just it's endured over 20 years.
And and you can vouch for me on this, I've changed on this. I was with Fred.
Yeah.
I was with Fred 10 years ago.
But can't both things be true though?
Right.
Yep.
Because I think that with Brady Brady made the system excel to the level that it excelled at. And this is my biggest current gripe with Bill, is that he's still operating the ship like he has Brady. And he doesn't have Brady.
But come to find out, he wasn't operating the ship in any particular way because he had Brady. That's the way he operated the ship.
Yeah.
Right.
And it happened to work, in my opinion. Again, revisionist history. I was wrong on this. I've changed my mind on this. I think it worked because Brady was just that good.
Right. But that's sort of my point, is that when you have a quarterback at Brady's level, you can make these little decisions below him, and these guys become sort of interchangeable, right? Like everybody else sort of just becomes interchangeable, and they're in the right order, and like you can make a roster out of the middle class because Brady's going to take a really good 1 through 53 middle class roster and win 12, 13 games with it.
And that's what he did. When you interchange with the wrong replacement, it didn't matter because he overcame it. In my opinion, you're seeing him interchange with the wrong players too often now. What you guys are talking about replacing guys in the draft and getting a receiver at the top. Well, it didn't matter when you had him. But I don't think he was doing it because I have Brady, he'll make it work. I think he was doing it because he thinks that's the way to do it.
Right.
Yeah. I just feel like, isn't comparing a head coach and a quarterback kind of apples to oranges when you're trying to divvy up credit for things
Yeah, it's silly talk radio.
You know,
arguments.
like
that's what I'm here
like,
for.
Like you can still be the greatest head coach of all time, and you had a great player. Like it doesn't mean that that it was that the credit was equal. I don't know if the two would have happened without either one of them, but saying that Brady was largely responsible for a lot of it. The great majority of it, it doesn't necessarily have to be a slight at Bill. Like he's still an excellent coach, and he's established an excellent
like I said, it's just one of my shows.
Sorry to take us out of
No, but I totally agree, and this is why, like when Evan says, it's can it be a little bit of both? Absolutely. Yeah. The true answer is they needed each other.
Right.
That's the.
They were
in
both
my
great,
opinion.
and they made each other great.
But I would have just told you that 3 or 4 years before the end of Brady, I was strongly, and Fred will vouch for me in this, I was strongly in it's more about Bill. It's the discipline. It's the consistency. It's everything that he does to put it all together. That's why they're as good as they are. And, as Brady kept winning with, I think, less, like that 19 team was not very good. And here they are, they're winning 12 games again and whatever. And then to see what
worst
Brady
8-0 team ever.
To see what Brady did when he left, like I've kind of had my eyes opened a little bit. I think I was shortchanging Brady a little bit. Not necessarily doing anything to Bill. I think I shortchanged Brady.
I think,
and I've come around.
I think for a lot of people, their appreciation of Brady went over the top after he left. And you appreciate something when you don't have it more, and I think that's what happened with Brady.
That's what happened to Deuce.
Yeah, he showed like he goes to this new team and immediately wins the Super Bowl.
I just think like the whether like divvying up credit, I don't really care about. My whole thing is just like where they're going now. And he's still operating like he has Brady. Like he's still making the same roster decisions that he would always make. I can criticize him for a lot, but he's one thing is he's consistent, right? Like he just does the same thing every single time. We talked about those 16 free agents earlier with Hightower and Chandler, Kyle Duggar, Josh Uche, Mike. Like it's the same conversation that you guys had 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago with those guys. And at some point, you have to recognize that you can't build the roster the same way. And he hasn't changed that philosophy. He's still sticking to the same plan when he doesn't have the guy at the top that was making it all, pulling it all together. And that
he thinks he's the guy who pulls it all together.
Well,
maybe that's it. Like maybe that realization is it. But I just think that something has to give in that respect. Either he has to come to terms with the fact that he can't win at a high level doing it the same way because he's never going to get another Tom Brady, or they need to move on from Mac Jones and go looking for the next Tom Brady. Like there's no that's the sticking point.
Be interesting to see how that unfolds.
Let's go back to the Ace Ticket Hotline. Eric's in Virginia. Hey, Eric. Eric.
Hey, how y'all doing this afternoon?
Okay.
Hey, Eric.
Hey, first-time caller. I just want to say big fans of the show.
Thank
you. Hey, quick question, though. All over, like, Reddit and Twitter and stuff, you got Robert Kraft out here saying, hey, money's never been an issue. And kind of what Evan's been saying, like, you know, Bill is operating on this like, hey, we're like a poor team. I'm going to try to save the money as best I can. It's just kind of like I'm confused on what these two are doing with each other. It's like, hey, I get it. Like Robert, you know, he's kind of reaching the end of the line here towards the end, a couple of years, God forbid. He's like ready to spend money. So what's like, I guess my question is like, I wonder what's it going to take? Is it going to, I mean, I don't want to be one of those guys and say, hey, push Bill out. It's been a great 20 years. It's been a blast. And I don't want him to go. I want him to be able to go on his own terms. But kind of what Evan's been saying is like, why are we operating like this? We've got the money. Let's take a risk.
Yeah,
I'll take this question off the line, but I just want to say thank y'all. And a real quick thing, too, is I have a 3-year-old who rides in my car, my son, and I always put the podcast on. I really do appreciate y'all not, like, you know, cussing a whole lot. Like I said, as a parent, I can keep that show on. My wife
I try.
I do my part. My two co-hosts evidently have a much more difficult time.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Eric's kid hates me.
Yeah, see, you know, and that comment from Robert Kraft puts Bill under pressure, you know, from the fans. Like, well, the owner doesn't care about spending. And so, you know, why doesn't Bill just overpay and get all the best players, you know?
It's easy to say that.
It's easy to say, and I do think, we've talked about it before, Bill does worry about the locker room and the pecking order of what people make. And I know that, you know, when Brady was here, you know, maybe for an instant you could be making a little bit more, but no one could make more than Tom Brady. You know,
not once he got his second, his third contract.
Yeah, that just wasn't gonna fly, and that's how Bill kind of, you know, leveled the play, you know, set the standard.
Again,
he gets the most, and everybody
that works
falls
when you
under
have that guy,
right?
Who's willing to take less.
Who everyone in the locker room easily acknowledges is the man,
right. And he's not making, you know, an outrageous amount, so someone could be second, third, fourth to him, but still making a lot of money.
Right.
He was making an average amount for what he could have been making.
Yeah. So now it's you know, like, so how does Bill set that standard now? Like, who's the guy that he's going to be the top of our
Matthew
pecking order?
Judon.
You know,
he said it on that 33rd team thing.
So that's
another thing that worries
so
me. I got
Bill,
a lot of concerns.
So Bill sets this artificial, you know, governor on himself.
Yeah.
Like, so what if somebody comes in and makes a little bit more than Judon? Judon's going to get over it, you know. And if he doesn't,
changing economics in the league
right?
too, and you have to recognize that the highest paid player one year, the next year it's not even close.
Right. So I mean, that stuff, you know, you have to deal with that, you know, and that's one of the problems right now. Now, on the other hand, like, even though Robert Kraft says that, I don't think Bill can just go and say, oh, we're going to, you know, give Hopkins $22 million just to get it done now. That's where I think Robert would say, whoa, you know, everything we have from our, you know, scouts and everything says he's not worth even close to that money. So you're not going to waste money like that. So it's
just, you know what it is?
There's a leveling there, but it's tough. Bill always is worried about that locker room, you know, pecking order.
I'd buy into it more too if there had been players that they could have retained had they paid them that would have been impact star players that they just let walk. But I don't really see those players. You know, like they just haven't had a lot of talent. They haven't really had internal people to spend that money on. And to me, that's the original sin, not just hey, go,
that
go,
gets back
go
to your
pick
draft.
a team. Like if you had, oh my God, I mean, and you know, probably people would say, well, you could have paid Brady, and you know, that's, you know, sure. But who did you draft that you let go? I mean, you guys brought up Collins and Hightower. I mean, I remember 100% being on that debate, and I was, you know, for right or wrong, I was on Jamie Collins. That was, like I said, this is an athletic next generation linebacker. I love Dante Hightower, but that was my feeling at the time. And you know, meanwhile, they let him walk. He came back twice.
But he really wasn't that guy.
He really wasn't that guy. He was.
So you're kind of glad they didn't overspend on him,
right? And in the end, it probably, you know, worked out the way it should have. I mean, I guess I would have maybe said I could have. It worked out terribly for Trey Flowers in Detroit after he left here, but I felt like he was a player that maybe you could have retained, that maybe could have still been here and still been, you know, an impact player on the edge. But outside of him, like who did you have that you let go that you didn't want to pay?
They definitely had that 15, 16, 7. Like there was I don't know exactly when it started, but there was a down period in the draft. There they weren't getting any players.
Right.
And that set them back. It set them
Oh my
back.
gosh, already? My first show back, it went by in a flash.
You know, that set them back. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. But
We'll find out in 3
but
weeks.
To your point, they've got to draft better, you know, so that they put themselves in a position where they have to make a decision of extending guys because they're that good, you know.
And then if they don't extend them, then it's like,
Yeah,
well,
then
what
now
are we
you-
doing? Like,
right.
how you?
Well, that's how I feel about the 2020 guys. Like Duggar is
right.
an extendable player. Like there's
Yeah.
no
Yep.
excuse to not have
So
Kyle Duggar.
So
here.
we'll see what they do with him, you know.
Yeah.
But
Look
prior to those drafts, they didn't really have guys that were worthy of it.
Like if we had just retained Sony Michel, it would all been fine. Like,
Deuce.
All right, that's going to be it for this edition of Patriots Unfiltered. We'll be back next week. Who knows what can happen between now and then? I'm sure anybody going on vacation next week? No, everybody's in. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original podcast.